Good morning. Good morning. Hello. I just realized I didn't test my microphone volume, so I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine. It sounds fine. Good morning. Oh my god. Just all over the place. Good morning. Thank you, Activius, for the I don't even know how many bits at this point. It's just spoiling me. Lance keeps cheering. Lance, relax. I mean, thank you. I appreciate it. You didn't even wait till I was actually here to just do it. That was like, hold on, I can do math. You ready? Stop! Wait, I can do this. Ready? 100 plus 20 is 120, and then that's 620 and 720 and 820 and 840. Oh my god! Just trying to get on the leaderboard. Oh my god! It's all over the place. Bunny cheered 300. Activia cheered another 15. Use your fingers to count. Okay, I can do this. I can do. It's too ready. I can't count. It's ready. I can't do it. I can't do it. All right. Good morning. Also, oh my god. Oh my god. There's 22 more bits, and there's 20 bits, and just all over the place. God. Exciting. And 22 more bits. I can't tell what's happening. My god. Counting on your fingers is intense. I don't think I can count that high. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I have that many fingers. Another 18. I'm gonna save the rest of my bits for later. That's fair. That's fair. I just want to know. And that's another 18. And there's 22. And I don't really know what's happening at this point. I'm gonna see. You must be close to 1,000 then. 915. So you're not quite on the leaderboard, but almost. I want to hear about Toadlands. Yeah, we can't do the whole stream of which. Oh my god, 230, and now you're on the leaderboard with 100 or I can't say words. 1,145, which I think you just donated all right now. Okay. Good morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Lance. I don't know why, just every time I have my sunglasses near me, I'm like, I just have to put them on for the start of the stream. And I'll just continue wearing them for now. Because I can. So welcome back. It's Wildlife Wednesday, yet again. It has come again. Luckily for all of us. And today we're going to be talking about invasive species. That's what I've been thinking about all week for some reason or another. I just want to talk about invasive species. I've been thinking about cane toads. I think it's because there's been a couple things lately where, like, my dad brought up something about cane toads, which are invasive. And then lately we found this kind of beetle on some of my mom's raspberry plants, and that was invasive. And it's just everything is invasive. I'm here for knowledge. Good morning, River. Also, yeah, hi Sam, hi Lance, hi Saida. Something about toads. There's gonna be toads. There's toads on the list. I want to talk about invasive species, and I have this whole, there's a lot of them, but I made a little list of some of the ones that I know, and we're going to kind of go through, like, some various groups of animals, and we're going to start with talking about what invasive species actually are, but I have, like, we're going to go through some terrestrial invertebrates, so bugs mostly, marine invertebrates, we're going to talk about fish, we're going to talk about amphibians, we're going to talk about reptiles, there's going to be birds, there's going to be mammals. Did I say fish? Fish are also in there. There's things everywhere. They're the flood. Does chip count as an invasive species? I'm not going to spoil it, but there is at least one thing called a rat in this list of mine. Okay. Excited. Oh, thank you for the 1 bit. Oh my god, 5th. I like how River's just slowly adding to their top total, because they were at like 2,000, then it was like 2,100. Now it's 2,102. Certain mussels, yeah, mussels are on the list. Are they invasive species in your area, or just like real jerk invasive species? So there's both. I did pick some here. There's some I know about that are particularly in Florida, which I've heard about just because people talk about them a lot, and I also, like, my parents have a condo in Florida, so I am down there sometimes, so I do hear about this stuff. And then some just like ones that seem to be a big problem in various places. I started making my list, and I was like, I'd like to have, like, sort of equal amounts of each little group of animals. Cats are an invasive species. Don't let your cat outside. Well, yeah, we're going to talk about what invasive species are, why they become invasive, and how they become invasive, and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, as River's saying, just as a general PSA, if you have cats, please don't let them outside. It's really bad for the bird populations, and it's very dangerous for your cat. Not just bird populations, other stuff too. But I remember reading a paper, at least one paper, about specifically birds and how bad it was for the native bird species to let cats outside. PSA with WADs, we're here to drop knowledge and warnings and stuff. Tell that to my dumb housemate. Yeah. Well, I mean, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to educate people, there will always be people who just don't listen or whatever. And it doesn't matter if you have, like, evidence on your side. It's just, people be like that sometimes. You just do the best you can, you know. Watch wears their sunglasses at night so they can watch the knowledge passing from their eyes. We're gonna do, the whole stream is gonna be in song. This is musical invasive species. Okay, so we're gonna open up my browser. Pop over here. Wallpaper song stream. There he is. There he is. Toad. I don't know what kind of toad this is. I just really wanted an up-close picture of some toads. I've been thinking a lot about cane toads. Anyways, we'll get to that. You need 10 oh yeah, I remember. I do need to do the points reward. I was thinking, well, that would be kind of like karaoke stream. No, and I did a karaoke stream. I did a drag stream. But I was thinking maybe the next one would be like horror game or something, but if you guys have ideas about what you want for the next big ticket item, because I do need to replace the mom on stream one, because we did that one already. And are going to do that on Monday. Let me know. Hit me up. Tell me what you want to see. Okay, so let's start. Let's start with what's an invasive species. Oh god, I'm burping and it doesn't taste nice. Okay, so you can see there's a big thing. So basically, invasive species, like this is saying, so native species are species that are like usually found in that ecosystem, and that's usually where they evolved to fill up that niche and that kind of thing. And then invasive species are species that have come from somewhere else, usually because of humans, usually because of us, and they are now in an ecosystem where they don't really like belong, and they usually are wreaking havoc on the ecosystem because like there's nothing stopping them, that kind of thing. What about a school of life cards with River? What does that mean? Like rats. Yeah, at the end, so we are going to go through like the various groups, and at the end we're going to talk about like the most invasive species. Are we talking about Chip? But also I'm a rat. Yeah, we're all rats here. It's okay. It's okay. Can I have a better definition maybe of invasive species to make sure? They're a nuisance species. It's a species that's not native. Although what native means is somewhat controversial, the thing I saw there. Has a tendency to spread to a degree that believed to cause damage to the environment, human economy, or human health. I think that's interesting due to the fact that, like, usually invasive species are introduced to new environments because of us, because of stuff that humans do. So the term invasive is also often poorly defined, very subjective. Yeah, that's also, it's hard because like the like icebreaker cards. Oh, do you mean the cards where it's like it gives you like a question and then you can talk about it? We could do that. We could do that on the stream. It might be fun. God, people are messaging me on Discord. I'm trying to stream, please leave me alone. It's okay. So are the ultimate invasive species. We'll talk about that later. There's a break in my straw and it makes water go everywhere sometimes. But generally, when we talk about invasive species, we're talking about animals that come in and are seriously impacting all the other species in that ecosystem because they're not usually found there and they're becoming a problem. Which again, it's like it's saying, it's kind of hard to like define where the line is for that kind of stuff because in nature there is some movement of animals between ecosystems, like that's normal. So gotta be careful with that one. sippy. And as we're gonna go through some actual little species and stuff like that, but there are various ways that species can be introduced. There are lots of invasive plant species too. I'm not gonna talk so much about those because I'm not a plant person. I'm an animal person. I don't know that much about plants. But like with plants, it's like any seeds that have come over, like they can come over in so many different ways. Like literally you could get seeds on your clothes and then they fall off in a different ecosystem and they manage to do well and then they propagate and then they're everywhere. Like it can be so simple. If only you had someone you know who knew plants. I mean, the person I know who knows plants would not come on my stream if I asked him to. I'll be honest. Anyways, also this about me. This is my channel. We talk about animals here. There are other channels for. I read Botany of Desire once. Yeah, I was thinking me. Oh, that's fair. I didn't know you know lots about plants other than like. I mean, I know there's one plant you know a lot about because you grow it. Sip. I forgot about that. There is like in terms of animals though. A lot of the things that happen is like people have animals as pets and release them into the wild, which you should never ever ever do. If you have an animal as a pet, do not put it out in the wild, just for a lot of reasons. Just don't do it. That's one thing that can happen in some like marine species. There's the whole issue of like ballast water where ships would take in water from one place, they would go somewhere else and they would release that water because of something to do with how ships work, which I don't know. I'm not an engineer. Oh, excuse me. Oh god, my throat feels a little funky right now. Yeah, so it could be those things. It can also be like because like when things are imported and stuff. A lot of times, what can happen is like bugs may tag along in those imports, and they may be living on the product that gets imported. And then they're here. It's the whole thing. Your local rescue teams tend to take in animals that need to be given away, no questions asked. Some even have no contact ways of dropping the animal off. Yes. There's also just like there's lots of things you can do if you no longer want your your animal. Like there's no shame in giving an animal away if you aren't able to take care of it. Absolutely. And like there are lots of people who take in animals, plus there's stuff like the SPCA, and there are like even it's good to like vet people a little bit if you're giving away your animals. But like lots of times people will take animals into their home. Like literally all the animals that I have were basically extras. No, you can't take care of an animal properly. It's a sign of maturity. Immaturity. Yes, PSAs were forever. Alright, so now that we've talked a little bit about invasive species, we're going to talk about some specific ones. So we're going to start with some bugs. So we are actually going to start for realsies with the one that I found in my mom found in the garden today, which is called a Japanese beetle. I think they're a kind of scarab beetle. They're really pretty. They're like metallic. They look like this. They're very pretty. But the problem is they're really destructive in that you can see like on this plant they wreck plants. They're very pretty, yeah. And the other thing I believe, I was looking into this a little bit, is what happens is their grubs will eat the roots of the plant, and when they become adults, they eat the leaves of the plant so that they just decimate plants. But let's look at the Wikipedia article. We'll look at a little bit. It's a noted pest of about 300 species of plants, including rose bushes, grapes, hops, canna, crepe myrtles, birch trees, linden trees, and others, including raspberry bushes. To get rid of the grubs, use nematodes. I'm scared of any bugs that come my way. Then infect them, eat them from the inside out. You know the interesting thing about that? I haven't looked specifically a whole bunch into the nematodes that you can introduce to kill these, but and so I don't know if this is like the case for that one, but there have been other there are other examples, like the cane toad is one, and we'll get to that one later, where it's like, oh, we're going to introduce this other animal because it's going to get rid of the pest, and then that animal becomes a pest. So you have to be really careful when you're introducing new animals. It's the Rocos's pesticide. It just sat there and flew away when it was done. He put it in his mouth. Please don't put bugs in your mouth. Or your brother's mouth. I mean, maybe the one exception is, like, some people do eat bugs, but usually you, like, cook them and stuff, so please just don't eat raw, live bugs. Please. Ideally. Anyways. But the adult beetles damage plants by skeletonizing the foliage, so they feed on the fruit if it's present, and the subterranean larvae feed on the roots. So again, what happens is when there's a lot of them, they just can absolutely decimate the plants. And I believe, we're going to look at their life cycle a little bit, but they're pretty tenacious little buggers, and their larvae can live underneath the soil, like, through the winter, which is bad. Bad for us. He didn't eat it. He never killed bugs. He just let it sit on his tongue. Please just don't put bugs in your mouth. Please don't do that. Hold on 1 minute. Don't put bugs in your tongue. The first written evidence of the insect appearing in the United States was 1916. Don't stick stuff from the outside in your mouth randomly. You get a bad time. That's fair. No matter if it's living or not. But especially living stuff, please. Don't hurt little creatures, because you're... So that does dumb children. What about apples? The beetle larvae are thought to have entered in a shipment of iris bulbs. So this is one of the things we were talking about, where it's like sometimes one of the ways that invasive species come over, especially bugs, is like in shipments of plants and fruit and vegetables and stuff, because if they were living on that plant and then it got harvested, then they're in there and they're now wherever that product has gone off to. And especially, I think it's saying bulbs, which means they probably got planted, which basically gave the scarab beetles, like, free range, have fun. The first Japanese beetle found in Canada was found in a tourist car at Yarmouth, arriving in Nova Scotia by ferry from Maine. During the same year, 3 additional adults were captured. They captured the adults. They've been found in the Azores. That's sad. So, yes, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the larvae feed on the roots, which, again, so just the whole bug. The whole bug is a problem. Who are we to judge the vacationing life of bugs? That's, that's fair. Oh my god, spiders in produce boxes. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's like, that's the kind of thing that happens. And it can be very easy to accidentally bring a bug over. Let's see. They become C-shaped grubs, which consume progressively coarser roots and may do economic damage to pasture and turf at this time. Larvae hibernate in small cells in the soil. Yeah, so one of the... We talked about this a little bit, I think, in the reptile thing, but it's like the plus side, at least in Canada, is unless an animal is equipped to hibernate and get through the winter, they're gonna die, which means I don't actually know that we have less invasive species here, but that is, at least, we don't have certain invasive species that are a big problem elsewhere. So that's a good start, at least. Let's see. They emerge in spring. That makes sense. One of my biggest fears, I will yeet those bananas so fast. That's the reason, not one of the reasons you can't bring fruit on flights. Yeah, that's probably it. And I think it's also part of the reason that, like, in customs, they're so careful. I think there's a couple of different reasons, but I think invasive species is one reason, that it's like you can't just bring whatever plants and stuff you want. I still have to inspect the bananas first every time. I saw one video what happened to put the fear of God in me. I don't mind spiders. I'm okay with spiders. There's other bugs I don't like, but spiders are okay. Oh, imago. What's an imago? Most of the beetle's life is spent as a larva. Oh. You know? He's just coming out of his cage, and he's been doing just fine. Okay. Adults feed on the leaf material above the ground, using pheromones to attract other beetles and overwhelm plants. They'll alternate between mating, feeding, and laying babies. And they lay a lot of babies. I don't like spiders, got too many legs. Gonna go eat a banana, BRB. No problem. I'll let you know if there's a bug in it. Why can't I spell? No problem. My kind of bug. Yep. They eat, they do it, and they have babies. That's the whole thing. Its life cycle takes 1 year. However, extreme northern parts of its range development may take 2 years. Yeah, because when it's colder, it's harder to grow. Controlling. Traps have been efficient. So it's a plastic container, and you bait it with floral scent, pheromone, or both. However, they may not be that useful. Yeah, we're in this huge stage now of like trying to undo all of the damage we have done by bringing these species into new areas, which is incredibly difficult. Oh, I just remembered actually another fish I want to talk about. It's kind of a fish. I don't think it actually counts as a fish, but it's horrible, and you're gonna be sad about it because it's scary looking, but it's interesting. Yes, we already talked about this. There's a biological control available in a powder form. Roving row covers can be used to exclude the beetle. Then you need to have hand pollination. You can use sprays. There's also I like oh yeah, there's also insect predators and parasitoids. I just wonder. You don't know my feelings. Again, when we talked about, like, I don't know a whole bunch about this particular control about this, but in general, it's like, let's introduce another species to mess up the species we introduced the first time is like not always the best idea, as we'll see later on. Cannabis, strawberries, tomato, grape, pepper, hop, rose, cherry, plum, pear, peach, raspberry, blackberry, corn, bee, oh crap, blueberry. God, they just go wild. Not a fan of grubs, I'll be honest. Not a fan. So that's one species you gotta look out for. Let's see, what else? Oh, there's another species that's a big thing here. It's called an emerald ash borer, and they've been like a huge problem because they absolutely decimate trees. So that's the next one we're going to talk about here. It's also another pretty boy. So you can actually see we have a whole Canadian thing. Use bigger bugs to fight the enemy bugs. Timon and Ping Pumbaa, an enemy bug. Yeah. So they're a wood-boring beetle, of which there's different kinds. They're native to East Asia. Most species of North American ash trees are vulnerable, and it's killed millions of trees. It has no natural predators. Oh wait, no, sorry. It does have natural predators, but they have not been able to slow the spread or keep trees from being killed by it. So it most likely came over on wood packaging materials. Again, like we talk about, it was just another thing where it's like they just hitched a ride on a shipment of product. First detected near Detroit, Michigan, Windsor, Ontario. It spread a whole bunch. Up to 99% of all ash trees are killed within 8 to 10 years once a beetle arrives in the area. That's a really scary number. Because one thing particularly about trees is trees are generally slow-growing species, and it takes them a while to come back. Alright, guys, looks like there's no bugs in this banana. Because one major thing that can happen, like this is something I know with animals like turtles versus, let's say, an animal like a mouse. Mice breed very quickly in comparison to turtles. I don't actually know. Hold on. Let mouse sexual maturity. Yeah, so most mouse, so we're going to compare really quickly mice and turtles, and then we'll get back to the plant thing. It's just, this is easier because it's an animal analogy. So mice reach sexual maturity, which means they can start having babies at 4 to 7 weeks old. So, like certain turtles, so the one kind of turtle I'm talking about right now, which is called the Blanding's turtle, they can take up to 30 years to get to the point where they can make babies. So the problem is, if a particular mouse population, if 90% of them got decimated, there's only 10% left, well, that population is going to bounce back a lot faster because they reach sexual maturity faster. And this can also be a thing where it's like more babies usually helps them bounce back faster. But it's like if 90% of, the turtle population is wiped out, it's going to take like 100 years for it to get back to where it was. I have a new 10k point idea, Animal Showdown, where Waz has a bunch of animals and goes versus on them, and the animals are compared Battle Royale style until there's only one left, the ultimate winner. Ooh. I feel like that would be hard, because, like, what would we judge them on? That's so hard. That's, like, the basis of biology. How do you know if animals are better? Maybe on that Hunger Games website. Is there a Hunger Games website? Hunger Games. Oops. Website? Is it like generator? Hold on, we're going off on a tangent. What is happening? Yeah, I'm over 13, I promise. Wait. What? What is this? What? Sorry guys, we're doing Hunger Games now. Hold on. People be running. District 10. District 7. Yeah, but then what? Okay. I don't understand what this... I don't think this is correct. Name's Crush the Turtle and I'm 150 years old. Yeah. I'm so confused as to what's happening. Oh my god. I don't think this is what I wanted. I wonder, is this the way it goes in the books, or is this just random? Fox face. 1 kill. Oh my god. No, it's just random. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Hold on, I want to go through it really quick. Kato quietly hums. Wait, we're going. I don't even... Oh! 5 cannon shots. I just want to know if a main character is going to die. I mean, Rue died here, but I don't know if that's... Hang on. Hang on really quick. No cannon shots. Kato questions his sanity. Are you sure? Because if we end this and it's like, it's Katniss and Peeta, then like... What's the point? DM'd? What? Where are you DMing me somewhere? Oh, you did. Look at that. I don't know how to show that on stream, but it's a picture of the... It's one of those like, oh, pick 2, they will defend you, the rest is coming to kill you, and it's 50 hawks, 10 like crocodiles or alligators, 3 brown bears, 7 what looks like bulls, 1 person with a gun, 15 wolves, 10,000 rats, 5 gorillas, and 4 lions. Oh my god. Oh, Perry the Platypus. Oh wait. Oh, god, I don't know if I can do the sound he makes. It's like a grrr. He like... There's a... Crocs and Bears. There's a... Hold on. Now I gotta go listen to it. He makes a sound that I don't know if I can do with my mouth. You ever just get completely off on a tangent? Alright. Perry the Platypus. Growl. Because he goes like grrr, grrr. Yeah, there's no way I can make that noise. It's not like that. I don't know what... I want to know. How do you make that noise? How to parry the platypus growl. I need to know. Do we watch this? I guess we do. Oh, I need to know. This is important. Okay, I get it. I just need to know how to make the sound. Everyone's just... It's fine. Just do the sound. What the heck? Oh, you can't hear the video? Hang tight. No, you should be able to hear it.
Invasive verb. I don't watch it, but I can make the noise that this platypus makes, so, here goes. This is how it would sound. that's my inter. And at the same time, we're going to flap our uvula back and forth. Our uvula
Alright, this is already too far. I can't do this. I can't flap my uvula. It's better than watching MREs all evening for a bit. God. Y'all ever wanna go on a time? Go watch MRE videos. Hold on, I just wanna know. Okay, PETA died, so this is incorrect. Okay. I just clap your uvula, everyone. Okay, so as we were talking about before, so the problem is a lot of trees. I don't know about ash trees specifically, but a lot of trees are more slow-growing species, which means if 99% of them get killed, it's going to take years and years and years for the population to bounce back, if it even can, because the emerald ash borers are still around. Adults can fly and spread locally. The moving of infested materials causes long-distance spread, as does adult beetles hitchhiking on vehicles. Impact. Back. Losing the majority of ash trees can affect tree species composition, natural forest succession, and nutrient cycle. So, tree species composition. Well, I think it means, like, if you have a forest, and, like, forests, ecosystems in general, as we talk about, it's like, a good ecosystem has lots of biodiversity, which means lots of different species, and ideally, like, the more kind of, like, equal-ish they, like, two very similar species are to each other, like different kinds of trees, like, the better, because you want more biodiversity. And it means that, like, in this case, it's like if you lose all the ash trees, it means another kind of tree is going to take over, and then there's going to be more of those trees, which means that, like, the ash tree species, if it could even come back, all of a sudden all the space it might have used to come back is probably gone. Because one way that trees, a lot of trees, like, their strategy is basically to outlast and then suffocate other species, by which they like one way that trees can do that is by shade, because plants need sun to grow. I'm having like my brain's not working. But basically, okay, I'm trying to remember what it's called. It's plant. There's two types of strategies that plants have. It's like R strategist and K strategist, and one of them basically means, yeah. So the two strategies, and this is kind of a thing actually with animals too, which is like the two strategies for continuing your species are either you make lots of little babies, or like usually lots of little babies that, like, it's kind of saying, are like cheaper, so it's like usually that means they're smaller, the mother doesn't put as much energy into them, or you have fewer offspring that have more like energy put into them. So examples of that is, like, we talked about before, the mola mola, the ocean sunfish, right? And it makes something like 300 million eggs, something absolutely ridiculous like that. And the strategy with that is like, okay, maybe 0.0001% of those are going to survive. And that's a strategy where it's like something like an elephant has like one baby at a time, but the baby spends a lot of time with its mother, so the mother ends up putting a lot more of her energy into it, but it's much more likely that that one is going to survive. That's a lot of eggs, gotta eat them all. Biodiversity is my favorite word. It's a nice word. Gonna eat them. God, they would be so friggin' small. So tiny. Itty bitty teeny tiny. And so with plants, it tends to be like your strategy, what is it? It's like it's fast growth that maxes out much smaller, I think, versus slower but like steadier growth. Let's look at this. The RK selection theory. Yeah, so the whales are another one that they're the K selection, because they go for one offspring that's usually bigger and spends a lot of time with its mother, so it's more likely to live. Ugh, caviar, yum. I was trying to remember how it works with plants. Our selected species are, they emphasize, high growth rates, less crowded ecological niches, and many offspring with low probability of survival. Yeah, so the way it works, so one thing that happens in nature, which is an important thing that happens, is fires. Fires are an important part of ecosystem, like cycling, basically, because what fires do is they clear out a bunch of like the plants and the animals that are there, and it basically opens up new space, which means new organisms can come in there, which is a good thing. You need cycling. You need things to change over time. P versus N. I don't know what that means. And usually the way it works with succession, see now we're off on it, is you have like faster growing species will get in there first, and then the slower growing species will get in there, but they will outlast and outcompete all of the other species. Factory reset. It's a math joke. Don't worry, I got it. I don't want to get too into this, but there's a whole thing about different kinds of succession. And basically, the point we're coming back to here is that one of the big problems, particularly with the emerald ash borer, is it targets trees, and trees take a long time to grow. Which means even if we were to completely, like right now, get rid of all of the emerald ash borers, in Canada, how long would it take for all the ecosystems with the ash trees to get back to the way they were? And the answer is probably years and years and years. So goes that way. Okay, so that's the emerald ash borer. The last bug, I don't know how long we'll talk about this one, because I don't know a ton about it, but the last one I wanted to talk about was the brown marmorated stink bug, which you guys have probably seen a stink bug before. I mean, at least if you live, like, in North America. And I want to look at this one, and I want to maybe look at this one. Oh, that's fine. So, stink bugs are native to China, Japan, Korean Peninsula, Taiwan. And I believe, like, as this is probably gonna talk about what happens in, the like, Asian countries where it lives, is there's a kind of wasp that is, like, a predator for it and uses it as wasps do to feed its young, which is really messed up, and I don't want to get too far into it, but the wasps control the stink bug species, but here we don't have the same kind of wasps that target these ones, I think, and it becomes a problem. They're small, they're dark brown. Marmorated means, yeah, that word, or veined like marble, which refers to the marking unique to the species. The nymphs are black or very dark brown. Okay, I don't get rid of that. The odor from the stink bugs is due to trans-2-decanol and trans-2-octanol. The smell has been characterized as a pungent odor that smells like cilantro. That's gross and horrible. They emit the smells as a defense mechanism to prevent being eaten by birds and lizards. Fair. Simply handling the bug, injuring it, or attempting to move it can cause it to trigger the odor. Their body fluids are toxic and irritating. Blah, 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 blah. What? Why are they so... I believe... It's an agricultural pest on fruit and vegetable crops. Like on soybeans and fruit crops. As well as peaches, apples, green beans, soybeans, cherries, raspberries, pears. Lots and lots of things. And again, it was a stowaway in packing crates of various types of machinery. That's interesting. Fruit vibing, absolutely. Diverse argument species, between I don't care about this. I just care about the agricultural effects. 17 states have established populations. Stink bugs, big bugs. They can lay a lot of eggs. They can produce at least one successful generation per year. Bugs in general tend to breed very quickly and have shorter lifespans. depending on the type of bug. Stinky bugs. Hi, mouse. Yeah, we're talking about stink bugs. Then after this, we're gonna move on to mussels and crabs. And then I don't know after that. They cause damage to crops. Blah 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 blah. But there is. They cause the plants to lose fluid, so they're like friggin' vampires. They are vampires. I want to, yeah, control, I think is, because I want to know about the wasp. I know. Some insecticides are ineffective. They're mobile because they can fly, which is a problem. Even this methods. Stink bugs are developing a resistance to insecticides. That sucks. This is what I wanted. Predators. So this is probably a kind of wasp. Samurai wasp. That sounds cool. Had some channel rewards. Oh, sorry. Thank you. I got a sippy and I got a me. I was trying to think of some more me facts today. This is what I was thinking about today because I was reading yesterday, but I'm a person who's a very fast reader. And for some reason, when I start reading a fiction book, this doesn't happen with nonfiction. I can put down nonfiction books, but if I'm reading a fiction book, I literally will not, like, put it down or really take breaks until I finish the book, which usually is, like, 3 or 4 hours. Am I allowed to steal your idea and add the me facts to my stream? Absolutely. I just figure, you know, I'm wonderful and interesting and people want to know things about me. Warrior Cats? I read the first Warrior Cat book all in one sitting and am waiting for Sam to maybe he finished that one, but to read the second one because I read too fast and I get excited. But I'm just a fast reader. There's your fact. In the United States, Europe, and New Zealand, so they were thinking about bringing in the wasp for possible introduction, which again is something we're going to talk about later with the cane toads, which is like that's not always the best idea. Is just introducing more species. Two inventive populations were found during surveys, which might be attacking. Subsequent genetic testing showed these wild populations were self-introduced. So I guess they found like wild populations. So self-introduced is better than human-introduced. Human-introduced is a problem. So they're trying to get more of these wasps to help. Several parasitoids and predators may do that, such as the wheel bug. Oh my god, that's scary looking. Pill bugs eat stink bug eggs. The whale bug is the most voracious predators. I want to look at these guys really quick. This is a wild looking wasp. It has such a big head. I love those books so much in elementary school. A shameful time indeed. They're just wild looking. Samurai wasp. Okay, there's not actually much about them. That's okay. I wanted to look at the wheel bug really quick too. That is a scary looking bug. I'll be honest, I wouldn't want to go against that. Personally, I wouldn't want to be a stink bug. Okay, so now we talked about a little bit about some insects particularly, and they kind of all the insects. I mean, the similar groups of animals do have like similar effects. It's like, you know, the bugs usually come over in like a shipment of some kind of product and they decimate plants, and that's when they become an issue. The next one we're going to talk about is a couple of, marine invertebrates. So we're going to talk about 2 kinds of mussels, 2 kinds of crabs, and then we're going to move on to fish. And it's already been like 45 minutes, and I've just been talking about bugs. So that's we'll see how this goes. Okay. I mean, the mussels I feel like are probably kind of similar. Whoops. So zebra mussels is one. And then the other one, I don't want to look at that anymore. Or that, actually. The other one is called a quagga mussel, which I don't know as much about. I know about zebra mussels because we have them here, and they're very annoying. They're really sharp, and they cut up your feet, and they're like this big, and they're everywhere. What are zebra mussels, and why should we care about them? So zebra mussels are, I believe they're bivalves. Yeah, they're bivalves, which means they have 2 shells, I think. That's what bi means. They're small freshwater mussels. They're native to southern Russia and Ukraine, but they've been accidentally introduced. I eat mussels. Do they taste good? I like mussels. I don't think you could eat zebra mussels because they're too small. I don't think I've ever had oysters. Zebra mussels get their name from the straight pattern on their shell. That's why they're called zebra mussels. Wow. They're closely related to the quagga mussels. So that's the other one we're going to talk about maybe a little bit, but they are very similar. I don't know as much about them though. But they're also from Ukraine. Zebra mussels and quagga mussels. So zebra mussels... Oh. So zebra mussels, like it's saying, are filter feeders, which means they take in water and filter out the food stuff instead of being like an active predator that grabs onto food. I've never had oysters. I think they're good, but some people don't. My SO doesn't like mussels. I just love all seafood. I like seafood a lot also. I don't eat it that much though. Okay, zebra mussels process up to 1 liter of water per day per mussel. And then they poop stuff out. Water clarity has increased from 6 inches up to 3 feet in some area. So here's the interesting thing, and what one of the things that can happen with zebra mussels is different bodies of water have different features, and one of them is like the clarity of the water. There's a different word for that. If I want to say it's turbidity, maybe. And like the turbidity of it matters because like murkier waters need to stay murkier, and clear waters need to stay clear because as I was saying here, what can happen is when there's more sunlight, it means more like algae and stuff can grow, which isn't necessarily a good thing because it can grow a whole bunch. And I believe, okay, let's look into turbidity really quick. Yeah, so turbidity is the measure of degree to which water loses its transparency due to the presence of suspended particles. So the more solids in the water, the murkier it is. High turbidity equals murkier. What happens if it's too high? Less aesthetic. And there's another thing that has to do with trophic levels or something. I can't remember what it is. Hold on. We gotta do this now. We gotta figure this out. There's different, hold on. Like trophic states, yeah. Now, remind me what this means. I think it has to do with the nutrient levels. So there's oligotrophic lakes, so they're little nutrients. There's mesotrophic, which means kind of mid, and then there's eutrophic, which means lots of nutrients. And again, the basically the thing is lakes need to, like here specifically we're talking about, like lakes need to stay the same way that they are. So in this case, like clear lakes where you can see further down are oligotrophic, which means there's less nutrients, very little algae, and then mesotrophic is kind of in the middle, and eutrophic, shallower water that's murky, so there's lots of nutrients in the water. And they have lots of plants and algae. They become fertile. I believe some of the lakes in Ontario are actually oligotrophic. Poggers! I can't swim in the lake. I can swing. Some lakes are naturally eutrophic. Wait a minute. Let's do like Lake Erie. Trophic. I don't know what trophic it is. I don't know. I don't know if I have the brain cells for this right now, I'll be honest. The other thing I need to... I'm gonna stop thinking and just read a little bit, because my brain... I have too many, like, little details in my brain, but I can't remember what they're all from. So I'm gonna leave it alone for now. They filter out the water, which makes it clearer, which makes for more algae. These plants, when decaying, wash up on shorelines, fouling beaches, and causing water poisoning. Hydrate! Thank you. Lake forest food supplies are enriched by zebra mussels as they filter pollution out of the water. The biomass becomes available to bottom feeding species. So there's more yellow perch. Oh, more zippy. Drowned. I'm gonna run out of water. They attach to most substrates and they're really sharp, which is one thing. They build colonies on native unionid clams, reducing their ability to move, feed, breed. I believe this was another thing that was happening with the quagga mussels, which is like they would just sit on top of other species that live on the bottom and like literally suffocate them because they like not literally suffocate them, but sorry, but make it so they couldn't move, they couldn't feed, like, and then they died. Yeah, one of the problems is, as it is with species, I could see the intensity of that sippy, is that zebra mussels don't have a ton of natural predators here. Similar species do exist, but these species are unlikely to be able to eliminate the mussels already established and have limited control. Crayfish could be helpful. Good for crayfish. Other controls: liquid fertilizer. Spicy. As an invasive species, they disrupt ecosystem by monotypic colonization, which I presume means, oh god, monotypic. Ooh, I think this kind of means they kind of just take over and outcompete other species, which again we talked about, it lowers the biodiversity, which is not a good thing. I'm like, my brain is having trouble remembering why the making the water is clear is a problem if the water isn't clear already. I mean, for one thing, I know it's like animals that are adapted to murky water may not do as well in clear water, for one thing. They were inadvertently introduced to lakes by ballast water. They also command on anchors and chains, maybe. They can survive out of water for several days. That's a problem. They open their shells to detritus, and their shells are very sharp, so they cut people. Yes. They cover stuff up, which is... Time for me to split so money can invade my bank account. Peace out, homies. Bye, Lance. Thank you for coming. Have a good day. Have a good day. Have a good time. Mussels are believed to be the source of deadly avian botulism. Oh boy. They're edible, but since they're so efficient at filtering water, they tend to accumulate pollutants and toxins, so don't eat them. So I guess they are, one way they're quote-unquote good is they do filter out some of the like pollutants in the water. They're responsible for the near extinction of many species because they just outcompete them, yeah, for food, and they grow on top of them. And oh, they do suffocate them. They just straight up suffocate them. They affect all classes of algae species, resulting in a food shortage. I wonder if it's just because they filter out so much algae and they eat it. They cleanse the water, which means the sunlight can penetrate deeper, so there's more algae. But why? But why? I can't remember. I know there's this thing that can happen when there's a bunch of nutrients added to the water, where you can have algae blooms where a bunch of algae grows really fast and it uses up all the oxygen, and it can make the water either hypoxic or anoxic, which just means there's little to no oxygen, and fish and other animals need oxygen to live. But I don't know if that has to do with the water. I think it has more to do with like phosphor or something. We're getting off somewhere else now. Yeah, but why does it happen? Rapid growth. The result of nutrient like nitrogen or phosphorus from fertilizer. So that's more having to do with like runoff being a problem. Anyways, so that's zebra mussels, and I presume it's the same kind of thing with quagga mussels because they are related. Better be streaming alien game later. Ooh. God, all I want to do lately is play Ori and the Will-o-the-Wisps. 5 reasons to worry about quagga mussel invasion. I think it's really interesting though that sometimes when talking about invasive species, people talk about it like this. Like, it makes it sound like they're coming in, like they're invading, when it's like it's our fault, really, and we're putting it off to not be our fault. Also, oh, I just realized maybe they're called quagga mussels because the other ones are called zebra mussels, and quaggas are, I think, an extinct species that are related to zebras. Yeah, wild. Okay. Anyway, that's a little bit about mussels, and now we're gonna talk about two kinds of crabs. We got Chinese mitten crab. When we're gonna get to toads, we will get there. Look, it goes. We did terrestrial invertebrates. We're gonna do marine invertebrates, and then fish, and then amphibians, and then reptiles, and then birds, and then mammals. We're just going up the evolutionary tree. Chinese mitten crabs. Oh my god, let's look at them first. The other one I think is called, what are they called? European green crabs. Which probably don't look nearly as cool. That's okay. So we got our mitten crabs. Look at this. Look at them, they're fuzzy! And then we have green crabs, which are less exciting, but it's okay. So I don't actually know a whole bunch about crabs. I just was trying to make it so my species, or my groups of animals were fairly similar. So let's go find out why crabs are bad. Invasiveness. They spread rapidly because they compete with local species. I mean, that's generally a thing that happens with invasive species. Is there is one, actually, speaking of crabs, there is a kind of crayfish here. It's called a rusty crayfish, and it's bigger than our native crayfish, and they outcompete them, and they're an aggressive species that just takes over and beats up the other crayfish. It's very upsetting. Let's look at this one too. They're aggressive. We feed them to the snapping turtles. Its burrowing nature damages embankment and clog drainage systems. They can make significant inland migrations. They can take up residence in swimming pools. Yeah, but what, is there anything else they do? The first time they were brought to Europe was likely commercial vessels, again with the ballast tanks. It could have been spawning time, and then the larva is free floating, so would have been swept up. We really messed stuff up with our whole ballast water thing. We shouldn't have done that. The crab is an autumn delicacy. At least you can eat it. Due to its abundance, high reproductive rate, and high physiological tolerance, all attempts have showed little improvement. Catch as many as you can. There's been discussion of capturing the breeding crabs at river mouths. It's difficult to do. They climb the walls of the dams. That's wild. I don't know. I'm not sure why they're a problem exactly, though. Let's look at this one. They're voracious predators. The European green crab are voracious predators feeding on a variety of intertidal animals like oysters, mussels, clams, and juvenile crabs. So most likely what this one is it doesn't have a whole lot of like predators that eat it, or not enough to control it, and it is feeding on the oysters, mussels, clams, and juvenile crabs to a degree that it wasn't before, so there's a lot less surviving. That's my assessment of the European green crab. I don't know about the mitten crab so much, other than the outcompeting the other species. They're omnivorous. It's been introduced to the Great Lakes several times, but has not been able to establish a permanent population. It's probably it's a good thing. Why are Chinese mitten crabs a problem? They eat salmon, trout, sturgeon, eggs, and may threaten successful spawning. So it's the same kind of thing where it's like they outcompete, I guess, the other probably crab species that are there, and they also have become another predator, so there's even less survivability for trout, sturgeon, salmon, that kind of thing. Trout eat good food, yeah. We won't spend a whole lot of time on them because I don't know as much about them. I do know a little bit about the rusty crayfish, but not a ton. Yeah, they outcompete native crayfish, so there's less native crayfish. They're better at avoiding being eaten, which means they're better at surviving. They reduce spawning in nursery habitats for native fish. Crab eat better than meat, yeah. Female crayfish can carry fertilized eggs on their tail, allowing them to spread rapidly. They're called rescue crayfish because they have this little patch on their side. It's hard to see in this picture that's like reddish. Okay. So I will leave that one there because it has been a whole hour and we've literally made it through like 2 groups. Plus I'm excited to get to amphibians and other stuff like that. Oh god. Okay. I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quick. I will be right back. I'll put on a little bit of music for you while I'm gone. BRB. I'm back. Oh god, I've done something silly to my computer. This one. There we go. Okay. So, I'm gonna put my headphone back in, make sure we're still going. Okay, so we talked about crabs and stuff. We're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about fish. And we're gonna start off. We're gonna talk about the stuff of nightmares. We're gonna talk about sea lamprey. So, this is a sea lamprey. They're kind of like giant fish leeches, basically. They're nightmare fish. This is what their mouths look like. Because they latch onto fish and suck the life out of them, basically. It's horrifying, really. And they're a big problem in the Great Lakes. They're a parasitic lamprey. They're called vampire fish. And they're eel-like. They don't have pair of fins. They have a sucker-like mouth. They're usually found in the Atlantic Ocean, but now they're being found in the Great Lakes as well as other places. But so they're anadromous, which means they come up from the lake or sea and they migrate up rivers to spawn. There are other fish that do the opposite of that, which is interesting. Spawning is followed by the death of the adults. Larvae burrow in the sand, hang out. The young undergo metamorphosis, and they migrate out to the sea or lakes and to start feeding on stuff. It switches between salt and freshwater. They're adapted to tolerate a wide range of salinities, and this is why one of the reasons I think it can tolerate being in the Great Lakes. Yeah, this is one example of how animals that are more like we've talked about before how there's animals that are generalists and are animals that are specialists, and it can have to do with different things. It can have to do with diet. It can have to do with like the environment they can live in. But basically, if you're a generalist, it means you can live in a lot, um, like many different places, and that's usually like those are the animals we see that are more widespread, and the ones that are more adaptable to changes in their environment. So, as you can see, they tend to be the ones that are. I can become a problem. Sorry. Blah, 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 blah. They're considered a pest. Yeah. And I think part of the reason is because they feed on fish, and which means we can't feed on the fish. These hosts have evolved a measure of resistance to sea lampreys in original habitats, so they've co-evolved. So this is something we've also talked about before, how evolution in general is basically an arms race between species, and a lot of times you see that, like, oh, this predator has evolved, or like one example we talked about before, it's like there's a kind of salamander that has evolved to become very toxic, and then along, like, as part of coevolution, the kind of garter snake that eats it has developed higher and higher levels of tolerance to the toxicity, and then the salamander becomes more toxic, and the garter snake develops more tolerance for toxicity, and it just goes on and on and on. And so, like it's saying, if co-evolved with hosts, it probably fits into a certain niche, and it, doesn't dominate the way it does in the Great Lakes, because the fish we have here are not evolved to deal with a parasite that holds on to them and sucks them dry like a leech. So, they attack native fish, which are predators, which allow other invasive species to explode in populations, having adverse effects on many native fish species. This can also be a big problem, and just like another problem with invasive species is stuff like this can happen, where the introduction of one invasive species can encourage and enable the invasion of another species, which is a big problem. I don't know of any other. I definitely have read examples of it. I don't know any others off the top of my head, but this is one example of, like, oh, you remove the predators that would not have allowed this other species to get in there and do well, but now those predators are gone, so it can just. Lake trout plays a vital role in the lake's superior ecosystem. It's an apex predator. Sea lampreys are aggressive by nature, which gives it a competitive advantage in a lake system where it has no predators, and its prey lacks defenses. Yeah, I did do some research actually at some point in my life into controls, and I think I was looking a little bit into the lampricides they can use to try to kill them, and I think it was somewhat efficient in places, but they're believed to have. Newly synthesized pheromones are believed to have independent influences on sea lamprey behavior. One group serves a migratory function, so they could use it to lure adults into streams, maybe. I think I was reading a paper at some point where they were using sex pheromones to lure the lampreys into traps and stuff like that, which is very interesting. You could use barriers to block their migration, but yeah, it's hard to block specific species. Yeah, they're scary. It's the stuff of nightmares right there. So that's one example of I don't know if I would actually count these as fish. I don't know if lampreys are actually fish. They're jawless fish, so they're ancient. Maybe it's time to go to bed, Wads. It is 11 o'clock. It is not bedtime. It is party time. Yeah, maybe I just need a coffee or something. I don't know. I I slept well, I thought, but he's like crazy. Okay, okay. Let's look into invasive carp next. Here we go. Big head. Big head carp. What is the problem with carp? Tell me. Tell me about the problem with carp, because I don't actually know. I just thought it was interesting. You're making me yawn. Alright, I've run out of water in this one, but I have another thing of water. God, look at this man. This man's gonna come into your house and steal all of your food. That's what's happening. They've replaced native species, so they probably outcompete them. They make up more than 50% of the the fish by weight in some parts of the Illinois River. They consume up to 40% of their body weight each day, which means there's less food for native fishes to eat. They grow big and reproduce rapidly. God. Yeah, I think like generally what happens with invasive species is they get introduced into environments where they can outcompete other species because they don't have predators, or the predators aren't efficient enough to control them. They can reproduce rapidly. They're more efficient hunters or stuff like that because the prey species there are not equipped to handle this kind of predator, stuff like that. Big problem. How do you identify them? They're 2 to 4 kilometers. They're 2 to 4 kilometers. God, this is... Look at this man. I don't know how I feel about where their eyes are. Hi, Laser. Good to see you. Welcome. We're talking about invasive species. Currently, we're talking about fish. Look at this. Look at his eyes. No barbells. I have low center of body. I don't know how to feel about that. I wonder where they came from. Asia, clearly, but I wonder how they got here. It's possible, that people, like, it's saying here, it's illegal to keep them as a pet, or use it as bait, but I wonder if that's kind of what happened, if they were, like, a pet species, or, like, a bait species, and then some of them got let free, and then, oh god, please don't. Yeah, but how did they get here? They were introduced in an effort to control plants, algae, and snails. This is one example of the thing that I was talking about, where it's like you have to be careful about just like introducing species, because like it said, I guess what was happening is either there was already invasive species and they're like, oh, let's control it by introducing another species, or it was just a thing where for the like aesthetic or whatever, like maybe people have ponds as like a feature, like a lawn feature or whatever, and maybe they just didn't want algae, plants, or snails in the pond to keep the aesthetic, and they're like, oh, we'll introduce these things because they eat the algae and the snails and stuff like that. But this is what happens. This is what happens when we mess with nature, which we do consistently. So this is one of the other ways, besides just like, oh, they came in on a product. This is worse, because at least with the bugs and stuff, it's like it was an accident. It's like maybe something we didn't think about, but it's not like we did something on purpose without thinking about the consequences, which is exactly what happened with this and what happened with some other species that we're going to talk about down the road a little bit. And it's just makes me tired to think about. Maybe that's why I'm yawning so much. I'm just tired of people's shit. There's a bit in Jurassic Park where they talk about poisonous plants being in with the dinosaurs because the plants look nice. Yeah, people are wild. People are absolutely wild. Like, again, this is what I mean of being like, oh, like this, it doesn't look nice. Let's introduce fish that like will eat all that and they'll control that, and then you don't think about the consequences. Which I think is the same kind of thing that happens with people who are like, oh, I don't want my pet anymore, I'll just release it into the wild, it'll be fine. Which is another thing that happens, and it's craziness. So we talked about that one, and I think I had one more I want to talk about. I have others on the list, but I feel like they're kind of going to end up being the same thing. Maybe we'll look into this one quickly because it sounds really cool. Snakehead. As an invasive species. They're predator fish. Hi, Reader and Canna. Thank you. Just want to know about them as an invasive species. Piece. Intentional introduction. So this is probably another one introduced as a valuable food fish, maybe? It's produced in aquacultures. Why is this? Oh, clarify. Or by accidentally. So it sounds like in this case. Oh, God. The same kind of thing. I mean, like, you can kind of understand the reasoning, which again, it's like you just didn't think about the consequences of like, oh, this fish is like a really good, like fish to have for food. Let's introduce it into our lake so we can have it as food. And you can see how that line of thinking makes sense on some level, but the ecosystem is way more complex than that, and you can't just introduce whatever you want and think it's gonna have no consequences. They're prize fish eaten in a variety of ways. They're farmed in aquaculture. Chefs have suggested controlling the invasion by serving them in restaurants. Yeah, considered a delicacy to the rarity. Frankenfish or monster fish. The snake has been featured. God, the snakefish is famous. Jeremy Wade. I used to love watching river monsters. This is the fish from hell. Stalking an unsuspecting baby in Chihuahua. It's capable of living outside water and to move on land. It's not a stalker. People love making up stories about animals and stuff. It's wild. I want to look at a little closer at its like face. Wait. It does have some little wicked teeth there, though. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't want to get bit by that thing. Look at that. Exactly. It's just a mouthful of teeth. They don't look as scary as I feel like they could for the name Snakehead. Although they do kind of look like snakes, actually. Their head. Except snake mouths don't come out like that. That's okay. Okay, and the last fish one I wanted to talk about was lionfish. So you've probably heard of lionfish. They're really cool looking. They're these striped fish that have all these wild spines. They're venomous, which we didn't talk about when we talked about venom stuff, but you know, they're also called zebrafish, firefish, turkeyfish, tasty fish, or butterfly cod. Predators. Or prey, rather. So they eat small fish, they eat invertebrates, they eat mollusks, and such. Aside from instances of larger lionfish engaging in cannibalism, adult lionfish have few natural predators because of their venomous signs. That makes sense. Moray eels, blue spotted cornet fish. What's this one? And groupers have been observed. Oh my god, look at this thing. Oh my god. It's a spear! It looks like a spear! How does that thing eat a lionfish? God, look at its fins. That's so cool looking. My god. Look at him. Who is he? Okay, anyways. Sharks are also believed to be capable of preying on lionfish. We don't know how commonly these predators prey on lionfish. Park officials have attempted to train sharks to feed on lionfish to help control invasive species. Bobbit worms. Oh, thank you for the host, Fun That Games. I appreciate that. The bobbit worm has been filled preying on lionfish. Bobbit worms, I think we've talked about before. They're terrifying. I'm gonna, if anyone here has not seen them, we're gonna look them really quick. They're these big worms, and they live under the sand, and they just stick their head out with their giant jaws, and they wait for a fish to come by, and they just like snap it up, and it's like, if that was in a horror, like that could easily be a horror game thing. It's also called a sand striker. Like, it seems like something taken out of some like desert themed survival game. Scary. Anyways, so there are things that we think eat lionfish, but we don't know how often, because mainly they're venomous, and that poses a problem for a lot of things that want to eat them, as you might imagine. Interaction with humans. Supposedly the makes them excellent predators and hazardous, absolutely. It has a depressive effect on blood pressure in rabbits. It can cause systematic effects such as extreme pain, nausea, vomiting, fever, breathing difficulties, convulsions, dizziness, redness, headache, numbness, paresthesia, pins and needles, heartburn, diarrhea, and sweating. So that's rough. Such things can cause temporary paralysis, heart failure, and even death. So it sounds like it's one that's more of a neurotoxin because it affects your nervous system. Anyway, we're not gonna get too into venom because I get really excited about venom. So they're native to the Indo-Pacific, southern Japan, in Korea, Australia, Indonesia, Micronesia, French Polynesia. Stop it. 2 species of lionfish have established themselves off the east coast of the United States and in the Caribbean. They're one of the most aggressively invasive species on the planet. They've been described by Species of Mass Destruction on the Science Channel, Season 1, Episode 2. It was likely introduced off the Florida coast. It may have occurred when Hurricane Andrew destroyed an aquarium, releasing 6 lionfish. However, a lionfish was discovered off the coast of Dania Beach before Hurricane Andrew, so it's possible that that's not what happened. It may have been purposely discarded by unsatisfied aquarium enthusiasts. So this is in part because lionfish require experienced aquarists, but are often sold to novices or who find their care too difficult. So it's possible in this case that it was sort of a freak accident thing, but it's also quite possible that this is a case where someone had it as a pet and did not want it as a pet anymore and decided to just let it go, which is, again, I'm gonna say it, please do not ever release animals you have as pets into the wild. Like, even if it's something, if you took something out of the wild and, like, you still should not necessarily let it go, or if you do, it has to be under very specific conditions, but that's more to, like, contact wildlife authorities in that case. But let it go. Yeah, but just don't do it. Do not let it go. Do not let it go. Do not, please. For the love of God, don't let the lionfish go. There have been several sightings. They've been caught. Yes, okay. Adult lionfish are also found off the East Coast from Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, Florida, so on and so forth. Excuse me. Extreme temperatures present geographical constraints in the distribution, indicating temperature tolerance plays a role in the survival. The abrupt differences in water temperatures directly correlate with the abundance of... That's interesting. So that is, obviously, as we talked about before, like, every organism is adapted to live within a certain temperature range, a certain range of salinity, which means kind of like the salt in the water. There's a lot of other factors too, but those are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. And going outside that region usually was like, there's kind of a continuum of, like, okay, there's a, they're like, say for temperature, it's like there's a temperature range where they flourish, and then there's a temperature range where they can live, but maybe their reproduction is not as effective, more babies die, and then, like, at a certain point it's just like they just die at that temperature. But it's a continuum. I have to pee again. But we'll finish talking about the lionfish first. They can tolerate a minimum salinity and even stand with pulses of fresh water, which means they can be found in estuaries, which is where saltwater and freshwater meet. So at least in this case, they cannot tolerate fresh water, which means we are not going to find them in the Great Lakes, even if somebody put one there, probably. Long-term effects of invasions. They successfully pioneered the coastal waters in less than a decade and posed a major threat to reef ecological systems. Yeah, I guess something just touched me and I don't know what it was. It might have just been me, frankly. They're second only to the native scamp grouper and equally abundant to the Graysby, Gag, and Rockhind. This could be due to a surplus of resource availability resulting from the overfishing of lionfish predators like grouper. The invasion in United States coastal waters could lead to serious problems in the future, like their impact on prey populations, affecting food-web relationships, which could lead to reef deterioration. So again, this comes back to, like, this is actually a good thing that I forgot was a thing for a little bit there. But, so food webs are basically, for a given ecosystem, like here, this looks like a little forest thing with a pond. How are all of the animals related? So it's like in this case, I believe the point down means they eat it, or it eats them rather. That's what I meant. It eats them if it puts them. Is that correct? Hold on. Get a little closer in here. But basically, it's like, God, give me a second. Give me a second. I'm confused. Yeah, the arrows mean it goes in them. The sun eats them all. That's right. Is this okay? So this is the top level predator in this case. Oh, we gotta hydrate. In this case, is the eagle, which and it eats. The fish it eats. That looks like a snake. The squirrels, the bunnies, all that sort of stuff. And then the squirrels and the bunnies and stuff, they eat the plants, which they don't really have on here, but then it's like you have a separate little ecosystem going on in the water. We have the giant water bugs. That looks like a tadpole to me. I think those are Daphnia. More tadpoles. Frogs. But basically you get to see all the relationships, because it's like, okay, you start out, here, or you start it with like the photosynthesis and it goes to plants, and then the grasshoppers eat the plants and the toads eat the grasshoppers, and then other things eat the toads or the frogs, so on and so forth. And basically what happens is when you introduce a new species, it can disrupt this, because it's like, say an animal comes in that is capable of eating eagles. I have literally no idea what that would be. But if suddenly the top predator was gone, or there's a lot more, it means all of the other species, there would be a lot more of them. There would be a lot less pressure from the top predator. Or it's like if something came in and ate, 90% of the frogs, suddenly the population of, grasshoppers and stuff would boom, which would be bad for the native plants. It just throws things out of balance, basically. Nature's all about balance. We're here for balance, and I have to pee real bad. I will be right back. We'll talk more about food webs, and we'll talk more about lionfish. BRB, I'll put on music for you again. I'm back. I got a treat. I forgot to turn off the music. 1 second. 1 second. There we go. I'm back. Sorry about the music. I split it so it comes out my computer, which can be a problem sometimes. I haven't figured out a better way to do it yet. Anyway. Food web. I eat the rice. Crispy treat. Nothing eats me. It's not a very good food web. So once again with the food webs. This is the way an ecosystem is set up. Oh, hi, Messenger. So good to see you. I'm talking about invasive species. I'm eating a Rice Krispie treat. It's delicious. But I figured out the arrows again, which is maybe this is a better example. So we have this fish down here, which is probably the top predator in the water. I love that topic. And you have like various things that it eats, which means like these what looks like salamander larvae or something to me, and that kind of stuff. And, you know, other tadpoles and even smaller things in the water. And it gets eaten, you know, by stuff like the eagle. And if you take that out, it means that the eagle has less fish to eat, which means it's probably going to go put more pressure on the other animals that it eats. And also that the smaller things that the top predator eats in the water will suddenly explode. And this is one of those things that can happen when you introduce a native species and it preys on certain things, particularly like in this case, if lamprey were introduced and were feeding on the top predator, which is this fish, which I don't know what kind of fish it is. And that's why it becomes a problem, and that's why something like the lionfish becomes a problem, because if it's eating, you know, a lot of the stuff, like if it's eating certain animals, whatever those animals feed on, there will probably be more of them, and that can cause all sorts of issues across the board. Reef deterioration could cause a trophic cascade. Let's go look at trophic cascade, because I think it has to do with food webs. Powerful indirect reactions occurs when a trophic level in a food web is suppressed. So that's what we were talking about, and like it is talking about here. We have like the where's the primary consumer? There we go. There we have the secondary consumers down here. Where's the flippin'? I guess it isn't. So I believe, don't quote me on this because it's been a minute, but I believe you have like the primary consumers, which are, hold on, the plants? Look at trophic levels really quick. How about that? It's been a minute. Been a minute for me. That's not what I wanted. Right. So we have, so the way that things work in an ecosystem is basically, so you have the primary producers, which are like the plants and stuff like that. So the stuff that uses the sun's energy, which if we go back to here, it's all of these. I don't know what these symbols mean, but I'm gonna, like, we have the terrestrial plants, we have the aquatic plants. Don't know what that one is, but you get the idea. And then underneath that, we have the primary consumers, which are usually like the herbivores. And they eat, let me get rid of this man. You have the herbivores, which would be, you know, the squirrels are omnivorous, but like the bunnies and stuff like that, and the grasshoppers, which eat mainly grass and stuff like that. And then up you have the secondary consumers, like, and then you can go up further, but those are all like, you know, we think top of the food chain. At the very, very top, we have, I don't even know what that says, the apex predator, which in this situation is, excuse me, the eagle. I gotta get to work. Have fun, y'all. No problem. Thank you for coming. And what happens is basically if you knock out one of the primary animals that occupies this level, it destabilizes the whole thing, basically, is what I'm trying to say. And it becomes a lot more complicated than that when you really get into it, because again, as you can see, it's like all these things interact with so many other things, and if you take out one, you're, you know, impacting so many different interactions. Oh, that's you know when I said I didn't know what these symbols meant, and there was literally a thing this whole time that, like, this is what this is. External energy source, sun, heat sink. Heat sinks are where? Like, there's like some in here. Okay. Energy storage source, producer, consumer. So these are the plants. Okay, it doesn't matter, but I figured it out, and that's what matters. So, I mean, I would have to actually look at like a reef. We could look at a reef food web, actually. Reef food web. I love food webs. Great Barrier Reef food web. Can I see a bigger picture of it, please? Pretty please. Cool. I'm wondering where actually the man would fit the boy, but probably, I mean, it'd be in there somewhere. But in this case, you can see like at sort of the top, we have, you know, the big sharks. We have the whales, we have the dugongs, because they're the biggest, and they have few, if any, predators. And then further down, we have stuff like the lower down predators, which we have, you know, the eagles, we have turtles, we have snakes, even the box jellyfish. And then again, you get further down, you have various kinds of fish. And then you get further down, you get the really small stuff. You have stuff all the way down to like algae, and the plankton that feed on the algae, and krill which feed on algae, and all that kind of stuff. God, there's a lot of it. I love how long the arrows are in this. I'm like, why is it like this? So in this situation, it's like, okay, what would be a good example here? We'll say, okay, so I don't know if this is actually what lionfish eat, but say in this situation, the lionfish came in and they eat, you know, they eat the snails. I can say words. They eat, you know, the snails, and they eat the clownfish. It's like suddenly it means, you know, the box jellyfish and the clownfish can't eat the mollusks as much, and the sea eagles have less clownfish to eat, and all of these other species, suddenly the food, one of the food sources they rely on, there's a lot less of them, which really ups the competition, and it means across the board there'll be less survivability. And again, if none of these animals eat lionfish, they're basically free to become kind of a top predator. And what usually happens with top predators is there can't be very many of them. Like, there's this thing that goes on with the trophic levels, which is basically like, it's like the 10% rule, I believe. So it's like, you know, when you start at the bottom, you have 100% of the energy from the plants, and then when you go up, it becomes the primary consumers can only get 10% of the energy that the primary producers made, and then if you go up again, it you know, you divide it by 10. And so at the very, very top, there isn't a lot of energy to be had, which is why at the bottom there's usually more plants and, you know, primary producers than anything else in an ecosystem. And it goes up, and then usually there's not very many apex predators, because as you go up, there tends to be less and less of them. So in this situation, again, it's like usually you don't, with, you know, the sharks and the dugongs and the whales and that kind of stuff, you wouldn't have nearly as many as like the stuff that's down here. And if suddenly you introduce another sort of apex predator or something that's at more the top of the food chain because nothing really eats it, then all of a sudden they may not directly, like, it may not be that the, you know, the lionfish are killing or eating the other apex predators, but with less food, it means less of the apex predators will survive, and that contributes to all kinds of other things, because it's like, say the lionfish don't really interact with the sea snakes in any way, but suddenly there's less tiger sharks because there's more lionfish. Well, now maybe there's more sea snakes, and then because of that, it just becomes a feedback loop of like, well, if there's less of this, then there'll be more of this, and then less of it. It's complicated. It's complicated. It all gets very complicated, but I hope you get the idea. Now that I've prattled on about food webs for several minutes now. Okay, let's go back. Now, this is the fun part of like closing all my tabs and being like, what was I talking about to begin with? Little is known about them. And again, we're talking about you maybe trap them. Fishing is often a thing where it's like, if you get them, kill them. Long-term culling has been recorded to cause behavioral changes. Lionfish on heavily cold reefs have become more wary of divers and hide more. That's interesting. I mean, that becomes a thing. It's kind of like, you know, the adaptation of like survival of the fittest. It's like in the culling thing, it's like if the fish that were culled were the ones that were more likely to go up to divers and stuff like that, then the ones that are left are going to be even harder to find because they're the ones that didn't come up to the divers in the first place. That's fascinating. Lionfish as food campaign. Interesting. Encourage consumption as the fish. Encourages human hunting of the fish. Encourages the consumption, but provide alternate fishing to. That's interesting. That's not like a bad idea. That's always, I think, a thing that's good to pursue in like looking for other food sources, because as we know and have talked about, like fisheries are just a whole thing where it's like there's so much overfishing of certain species, and so it would be better for us to, you know, find species that are maybe invasive or there is too many of them and like focus more on those, although it can be hard because it's like you gotta find demand for it to justify doing it. To promote the campaign, the Roman Catholic Church in Colombia agreed to have their clergy sermons suggest to eat the fish species, which proved highly successful. That's good. And it's another thing why I think it's interesting that when, you know, we're looking more into alternate protein alternate protein sources. Man's gotta eat. Like bugs, which, I mean, immediately people think eating bugs is gross, but it's like, there's a lot more bugs than anything else in this world, frankly. Like, we have too many deer here in the European forests. Yeah, I think that's probably likely more of a, like, because of humans, there's not enough predators anymore. That can happen definitely around, like yeah, hardly any more predators. Exactly. So that's less of an invasive species thing necessarily, but that is still a we did this kind of thing. It's like if there isn't enough predators, again, like going back to the food webs, if there isn't enough predators that are eating a prey species, and the prey species will flourish, which is great for that one species, but usually bad for all the species they eat or interact with in other ways. So it's all a balance. When properly filtered, the naturally venomous fish is safe to eat. Right. FDA included lionfish on the list of species at risk for ciguatera food poisoning when they're harvested in some areas. You can make it, you can circle of life. Well, that's the interesting thing. It's like the problem becomes that in nature, when one species is doing really well, it means other species are suffering, and usually a lot more, so it's better to have the balance. We're not very good at that as humans, of letting that be a thing. Anyway, okay, I think that was all the fish I wanted to talk about. God, we're like not even halfway through my list, and it's almost been 2 hours. Okay, speed run. That's okay. I can cut out some of the things I want to talk about. We're gonna talk about the moment you've all been waiting for. We're gonna talk about cane toads. Cane toads are very cute. Look at that. Look at this stocky man. Okay. So, cane toads. I believe they're called cane toads. Here comes the general. Lad. I believe they're called cane toads because they were introduced in areas with sugarcane. So they're called cane toads. So they're kind of toad, which means they have poison glands. Tadpoles are highly toxic. That's fun. They're particularly dangerous to dogs. So I think that's one reason that people are so worried about them, is because, you know, other animals like dogs can become very sick, or even maybe even die because they chew on the frogs, or the toads rather. Because of the voracious appetite, it's been introduced in many regions as agricultural pest control. Yeah, the name of the species is derived from its use against the cane beetle, which damages sugarcane, but now it's considered a pest and invasive species, which again is our fault because we introduced it into an area where it probably does not have a whole lot of natural predators because of its wicked toxic defense. And like literally the reason they were introduced is one of the reasons they're an issue now, because they have such voracious appetites. Upsetting. They were used to eradicate pests. They got other names. They have their own genus. Okay. Tell me more about other stuff. They don't live in the sea. Tadpoles can tolerate salt concentrations. They begin life as an egg, as you might imagine. They prey by movement, and vision appears to be the primary method by which they detect prey. It can also locate food with its range of smell. They eat a wide range of material, which again comes back to like the generalist thing. This and another frog we're going to look at called a bullfrog, which get real big. They are both, I believe, animals that will eat like anything. They'll eat anything that's like meat, and also probably like some plant stuff. But so in this case, and I think also with bullfrogs, like rodents, other reptiles, other rodents, reptiles, and other amphibians, because frogs are not reptiles. Birds, bats, amphibians. I think sometimes it's funny, but also sad how humans introduce a new species because they think it will help, as in this case, and other times animals just become loose, like in the case of rabbits in Australia. Yeah, we were talking about some of the various ways that invasive species become a thing, and like I think most of the time, if not all the time, it's because of us. And it's like it can be things like when we were talking about bugs, it's like they come over on, you know, shipments of like fruit and like machinery and products and like stuff like that, which is like an accidental thing, but it still happens. And then there was the thing of ballast water being a problem, where ships would take in water in one location and then sail somewhere else and then let that water go, and all the species that may have been in that water are now introduced into that area. And then there's people who, you know, let their pets go, and that and those animals can become established, and that's a huge problem. And then there's, you know, places like this where it's like we thought it was a good idea, and people can think it's a good idea to purposely introduce things for a variety of reasons, like it's going to be helpful, or they just think they're cool, or like makes me crazy. Makes me crazy, I tell you. Okay. I have to breathe for a second. It generates a milky white fluid known as buffotoxin, which is I believe so. That might be specific to toads because bufo, I don't know how to say it. I think is the name of bullfrogs, maybe. Oh, sorry, just toads. Common toads. I don't know what the bullfrog thing is. Not even close. I was incorrect. It's toads, but a toad is a bufo. Do you know of a case where reintroducing a species to an area was actually helpful? Well, reintroduction is very different from introduction. Like, there is cases where like animals bred in captivity specifically to be released into the wild to help populations can help, but that's very different from introducing a completely new species. We were earlier we were talking about Japanese beetles. These guys. Oh, beetles. I forgot the word beetles. I didn't even write that right. This one. I can type things. And there's a nematode, which is like a type. There's a type of parasitic worm that can help with them. And I don't know a ton about that, but I know it has been used before, and it seems to be effective. And I haven't heard a ton about it being like a bad thing. So maybe I can go look really quick and see if I can find the species name. I think it was down here. Yeah, well established with significant rates of parasitism. So these are two of them. I won't do that one because that's. Oh, what? What? Oh, that's an egg. I was like, that's just the beetle. Species of bristlefly. You're not gonna give me anything else, huh? That's not even what I was looking for. That's also a wasp. Anyways. Hold on. Japanese beetle nematode control. Because it has talked about this is one of the effective ways of doing it, and I haven't yet seen anything about there being negatives to introducing this kind of nematode, although like I'm always a little wary of like, let's introduce another thing, you know, just in general. Yeah, because this is applying nematodes in the spring and the fall. It's only effective in grub control. This is the one. Getting the right nematode is important. Yes, they're like dogs with many different species. That's not That's not how that works. Dogs are... There's dog breeds, not dog species. You tried, person who wrote this. You tried. Grub control to Major Tom. Let's look up this thing really quick. Ew. Yeah, I mean, it's. You tried. It's hard. It's hard to. There's not a lot of information on them, but again, thus far, I haven't seen anything being like there's been problems with us doing this. But I don't know because I'm suspicious. Extremely important. There are so many different nematodes, and some of them cause a lot of problems. Yes. Parasites in general, like if you really want to be freaked out about anything, go look up parasites. Also, hi Tokenizer, nice to see you. Parasitic worms are scary. Spooky scary. Anyways. So in that case, it may be okay. Hard to know. Also, if it's a newer thing, we may not know the impact it's gonna have yet, which is rough. I think my friend uses nematodes or something like that for moths in his kitchen. There are definitely some. There's at least one, probably more than one, invasive species of moth. I don't know about them, and I'm trying to focus on some species, but we can look at moths later. How are you doing, Tokenizer? Okay, we were talking about cane toads. Anyways, many species prey on the cane toads and its tadpoles in its natural habitat, like the broad-snout caiman, the banded cat-eye snake, eels, types of killifish, many things. But okay, and outside the natural range, we have the kite, which is a kind of bird. I don't know what a racali is. Ooh, water rat, and the black rat, water monitor. Those are cool. Tawny frogmouth. Sure. Have been reported feeding on cane toads. So it does seem like there is other there is predators that eat them even outside of their natural habitat. Opossums can eat them with impunity. Meat ants are unaffected by the cane toad toxins, or they're able to kill them. Oh god, that's... The cane toad's normal response to attack is to stand still and let its toxin kill the attacker, which allows the ants to attack and eat the toad. That's really messed up, but interesting. Yeah, so it was introduced again for biological control of pests because it likes eating bugs and other stuff. It was even introduced in Jamaica to help reduce the rat population, which didn't work. It was hoped to counter a beetle infestation, which was successful. And then people were promoting it as an ideal solution to agricultural pests, but we didn't know. I don't have many fears, but the words meat and ant together make me shiver. You know, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I don't know why they're called meat ants. Kinda want to know now. That would be one of the worst ways to go, I think, by ant. Why are they called... The meat ant? Yeah. But why is it called a meat ant? Tell me. Damn, what's name? Yeah, idea. But the common name. Tell me about the common name, maybe. Why is it called a meat ant? Look at its little face. Tell me why it's called a meat ant. So it's called a meat ant because what? Oh no, but the common name. Tell me about the common name. Oh, that's nice. It's commonly known as the meat ants because it strips the meat off of dead. Yeah, that's about as bad. Yeah. Well, you're conscious. There are worse ways to go. How? Yeah, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I don't know. That sounds like one of the worst ways to go. Anyway, Australia. Apparent success of the cane toad. It was introduced in other places. And they let him go. And then they decided to ban future introductions until a study was conducted. I mean, good call, but also, oh, they did a study and then they really let them go. Okay, that's too bad. They were generally unsuccessful in reducing the targeted beetles because the cane fields provided insufficient shelter for the predators during the day, and because the beetles live atop the sugar canes and the sugar cane toads aren't good climbers. You know, when someone asks me what is the way you don't want to die, I'd be like, well, it's half my list. Meet ants while unconscious. I mean, that's fair. Be a good icebreaker. How do you not want to die? They're not good climbers. That kills me. So in this case, it actually wasn't necessarily so much because they didn't have predators. Well, I don't know why they. Since its original introduction, it's become the population of native predatory reptiles has declined. I wonder if that's like a thing where they're small lizards. No, that's not a small lizard. Okay. So it's more likely that like this one and I think probably these two too look like they're kinds of monitor lizards, which are again usually the big lizards and probably something that would eat the cane toad, and it may be because they declined because of other human activities, and because of that there's less predators now for the cane toads, so the cane toads just go wild. Although the agame's doing well, known to be a prey item, has increased. So this toad hasn't made because less predators, more prey. Like, it's good to go. Who's this tab? Oh my god, it's like almost 12. Okay, we're not gonna spend too much longer on this. But you get the idea. God. Okay. You know what? I had other amphibians to talk about, but really all I want to talk about was the cane toad. So we're gonna move on because there's a couple of reptiles I would really like to talk about. We're gonna talk about. I mean, okay. So really quickly, there are 3 species I think in particular. Maybe in 4. I don't know if I'll talk about the brown tree snake, but there's 4. The 4 of the reptiles I had on my list to talk about as invasive species. I know they're all species that are fairly common as pets, and most likely, if not for sure, that is the reason they're now out there in the world and they're propagating. And those are green iguanas, Burmese pythons, red-eared sliders, which are a kind of turtle, and tegus. Probably black and white tegus. So we'll look really we'll do this. We'll pop up all of these. Burmese pythons in Florida is where they are. Green iguanas in Florida. I think it's green iguanas. It's a kind of iguana. What up, nerd? Hi, Sam. Nice to see you. You got here just as we're going to talk about more reptile stuff, which is my favorite stuff to talk about. Invasive tegu. And what did I just say? Red-eared slider. This is one we actually have here. I believe the other. I know these two. I know they're invasive in Florida. I don't know about the tegus. Also, Florida. Florida's having a bad time. So we'll try to talk about them more quickly. Let me get some scalies up in here. I'm not. Please don't bring scalies into my good Christian reptile talk. So Burmese pythons are this huge species of python that you can have as pets in some places, and I believe what happened with this one is they were released as a pet into the wild, and because they don't really have any natural predators and there's a lot of things they can eat, it's like goodbye. They did really well. Aren't there tons of invasive species in Florida because of exotic pet owners? Yeah, the other problem with Florida, and particularly in regards to reptiles, is because reptiles are ectothermic, which means they have to regulate, like they don't make their own heat, so they have to regulate their temperature with outside sources. Florida's a really good place for them because it's really warm. A lot of reptile species do well in really hot climates. Like that's That's what they're made for, a lot of them. And it's like one of the reasons where it's these particularly are not so much a problem here, like in Canada, is because none of these species, except the red-eared slider, the red-eared slider is not a tropical species, but tegus and green iguanas and Burmese pythons are all tropical species, so they wouldn't survive the winter here, which is a good thing for us. Aren't there lots of gators in Florida? There are lots of gators in Florida. I don't know. It's quite possible that alligators or crocodiles, I don't know which ones in Florida, do eat Burmese pythons, but it's quite likely that they're not enough, even if they are. What's the difference between a croc and a gator? I think they're just different species. Because there's crocodiles, there's alligators, and I think there's caimans, and those are like the main three. Let's go look. Let's go find out. Although the order is crocodilian or crocodilia. Are you gonna tell me? Yeah, so there's true crocodiles, and then there's alligators and caimans, and that's it just has to do with how they're related, like genetically and stuff like that. I was just about to ask if gators eat the snakes. It's possible. I don't know, but clearly the gator, if they're not eating enough of them. This is not what I wanted. But I think one of the problems they're having is they are actually, you can see, making a significant effort to like get rid of them now. But one of the problems is they're just so hard to find. There's really only a small sliver of people who keep exotic pets and keep them well, and people who keep big cats are definitely the good ones. Yeah, definitely not. How many are there? Hi, Helen. It's nice to see you. Yeah, no, most people don't keep exotic pets well, and I personally am never going to have a snake that big. I have one already, little voracious bastard man, and he's like 3 feet long, and I don't want to deal with a snake bigger than that. Even like we had boa constrictors that worked, and I liked them well enough, but like the care they need is like they need their own room, and it's no, people really are not. We're not set up to have serious exotic pets. They're better off in like, zoos and sanctuaries where they're properly cared for. It's nice to see you too. Also, hello, chat. Can we see him? No, we can't see him because I fed him yesterday, and I always give them at least 24 hours to digest. And B, last time I took him out, he bit me. Sure, there is a look. There is a reptile show and tell channel reward. They need at least 24 hours. Yeah, so I usually feed them on Sunday actually, but this week I was lazy and it took me a couple extra days. Channel points. Yeah, but I will say today is not a snake day because they ate yesterday. And I'm not opposed to getting Osiris out. He's just a shit who bites me like 50% of the time. 3,500 points. Time to farm. No problem. The problem is I don't stream for that long, so gonna be a lot of streams. I don't know how many hours 3,500 points are. Like me after a giant meal, I need some time, so I'm sleeping. Yeah. Well, I didn't post this picture yet, but I have a picture from yesterday. What else? Get on it. I have a picture from yesterday. So Osiris, I feed him mice. So really quickly with snakes and feeding snakes, there's when you're feeding them rodents, which is what you feed like most snakes in captivity, you can feed them mice, you can feed them rats, or you can feed them like rabbits. There's also like chickens and other stuff, but like those are the rodents, and like rabbits and even chickens are only really for like big snakes. But rats tend to be more fatty than mice are, so I feed both my snakes mice because they don't need more fat in their lives, and they're not so big that that mice aren't enough for them. And I feed Osiris 2 adult mice because they're only about this big, and weight-wise he needs to have 2. But what happened yesterday is I gave him the one and he grabbed onto it, and I put the other one. The snake is on Twitter. There is a snake on Twitter. I haven't put the other snake picture up, but I was thinking about it. But there's a picture of Osiris now because he grabbed onto the one. Yeah, Osiris is the big snake. He's 3 feet long. He's a king snake. He likes to eat my hands. but he grabbed onto the one mouse, and then I put the other mouse on top of one of his like little hidey containers, and then he, like, I don't know, he just sometimes he gets distracted and he like lets go of what he's eating, but then he gets excited that there's food. And so he got excited, but he was still holding on to the other mouse, and then he went to eat the one that I had placed for him when he was done. So now there's a picture of him eating one mouse and holding on to the other one. All the mouse are pre-dead, by the way. They get killed humanely. Yeah, so I'll show you really quick. So Osiris is a California king snake, and I believe he's a banana morph, which is just like his coloring. Not like that. This is not showing me what I want. He kind of looks like that. Whatever. This is what he looks like. This isn't what he looks like, actually. This is what Osiris looks like, and he's like 3 feet long. Big boy. A Cali banana, absolutely. And then, I have another snake named Jasper, and Jasper is a baby, Western hognose, because he's about 2 years old now, and this is what he looks like. That's the really cute one. I mean, I think they're all cute, but I think hognoses are particularly cute. And he gets itty bitty tiny mices, because he's little. He gets little Mises pieces. So those are my kiddos. And I will never have a big snake. I don't want one. I might get another snake in the future, who knows. Oops. I closed the Burmese. Pythons. Florida. Okay. 5,000 captured Burmese pythons. That's a problem. So, a milestone of 5,000, but I think there's still more, which is a problem. Longtime invaders. Another win. Exotic pet trade. Yep, they're released into the wild because nobody cares. And they've decimated the small and medium-sized reptile populations. I have the feeling that they have few, if any, predators. Like, gators might be one, but otherwise I honestly don't know. Which is why they've become such a problem. And so then the other one we have, which, again, exotic pet trade thing, is the green iguana. And apparently they do considerable damage to infrastructure. And they're actually, they are hunted. Yeah, they're wicked. They have wicked claws, by the way. Regulates them. Okay, I don't care about the change in stature. I just want to know what happened. They're big. They're very cute, though. Never with spikes. Yeah, but what happened? They're vegetarians. Impacts. They cause damage to vegetation, and they're a nuisance. They're attracted to trees and almost any vegetable. They love their greens. They cause damage to infrastructure by digging burrows. They leave poop. Oh my god, imagine that. They also found the mounds of tree snails. So this is more like, iguanas are very cool, but iguanas are herbivores. So this isn't so much a case of like they're eating other animals, and those animals are, those animal species, like their numbers are going down, but this may be where they're eating vegetation, and it is like those species are heading downwards. When I go and vacate in the Caribbean, they be everywhere chilling. I do like iguanas. I never want one as a pet, but they are cool. But they could stay in the wild. I'm not gonna lie though, this makes it sound like it's more just like they're inconvenient to us, which is like, yikes. I thought iguanas ate bugs. They do not. Iguanas, so, okay, now you get to have my spiel. This is a spiel I used to give people at my reptile job. So, here we go. I don't know why I moved my chair away. It probably should be closer to my mic. So they're not quote unquote bad pets, but they need a ton of space. They need a ton of humidity. They can be really, really aggressive. They can, like, they have wicked claws. Iguana bites hurt really badly, and they can whip you with their tail. It's all a bad time. And most people are just not equipped to have them as pets. And they get big. And that's the main thing There are easier, smaller things you can have as a pet if you want a reptile pet. It's the same thing as like Burmese pythons and stuff like that. It's like, why do people need to have such huge animals? When I was a kid, my neighbor had iguanas, and I pet sat for them when they were out of town. They were massive. Hi, Killian. Nice to see you. They're fucking huge. Yeah, iguanas get like several feet long at the least. Um, they're big, and it's like, it's not. I'm not saying that no one should ever have an iguana as a pet. I'm saying that most people should not have them as a pet. What about little gecko boys? Little gecko boys, much better choice. They get large. Oh, yeah. We had a male iguana at my old work, and before that we had two female iguanas, and they honestly, like, temperament wise, they actually weren't that bad, but I had to pick him up a couple times. Zeke, his name is Zeke. I have pictures of him. Maybe I'll send them in the Discord later. But I had to pick him up a couple times, and even though he was pretty chill, just him like flailing around a bit because I picked him up, like, I got like wicked scrapes. And the problem is, you have to be especially careful with that because they have all sorts of bacteria and stuff on their claws and whatnot. So it's like you can get infections from that. So after like the first two times, I was like, it's time for gloves. Yeah, and like again, he had a pretty good temperament. What's a good starter reptile from a noob? I am glad you asked. So if you want a lizard, you have a couple different choices. If you want a little lizard, you can get something like a leopard gecko. I have 3 of these. Um, they're little dudes. They don't really do climbing. They just kind of hang out. If you want a small climbing boy, you can get a crested gecko. I also have one of these. Oh, hey, Wandering. It's good to see you. Thank you so much for the follow. We're just talking about reptiles. These are pretty good. If you want a bigger lizard and one that's like really chill and will just hang out with you, bearded dragons are your friend. If you want a really easy snake, corn snakes are wonderful. They don't require a ton of like complex care or anything like that. You feed them like once a week. It's not a big deal. You can also, ball pythons aren't like a bad beginner snake, but they can be finicky eaters and their care is a little bit higher and stuff like that. For the love of God, do not get any of these as first pets, please. I've always thought about getting a bearded dragon. I'd love to have a reptile, but my house doesn't stay warm all the time in the winter. So what you do with reptile tanks is you get, most of the time you get under tank, like, heating pads, basically. There's ones designed specifically for reptiles, and it's so that they always have heat. They do require certain temperatures, and you have to monitor it. But most reptiles, when you get them, you do get a heating pad for them, or in the case of bearded dragons, you get them a basking lamp because they prefer basking to get their heat and UV and stuff like that. Yeah. What else? What else is good? Good pets. Most, not most. Well, some smaller snakes and stuff like that are pretty good. Hognoses aren't too bad. I didn't know they had under tank things. My dad has a nose in his classroom. Yeah, so there is different ways you can do it, but the thing is, in the wild, not all reptiles like bask, which is like hang out in the sun to get warm. A lot of them will actually find places like warm rocks and they'll put their belly on it. So usually in captivity with like a lot of them, you give them belly heat because that helps them digest. And if they don't have the heat, they can't actually digest properly, and it can be a huge problem. We're learning so much, chat. Yeah, somebody lately was talking about doing a like basic like bearded dragon care stream, and like that might be a fun stream, honestly, is like basic reptile care and stuff. I don't know, I don't remember who that was, but that might be fun for like maybe next Wednesday. We can learn the basics of reptile care because we're a reptile channel, apparently. Yeah, there's a lot of other animals you can get, but those are like the really, really basic ones that like there's tons of them. And it's always better if you can. Don't buy animals from pet stores, please. It's also better if you can get pets from like sanctuaries, or you can like take one in that's being rehomed rather than like buying from a breeder, even, because there's already too many pets in the world and we don't really need more. We also had a snapping turtle when I was a kid because my dad brought a baby home, one from the golf course. Charitable choices, really. Yeah, that's a pretty, not like common thing that happened, but when I was working at the reptile place, I did hear people talk about that. Where I was like, oh yeah, I just brought this turtle home to like keep it as a pet for a bit, and like, please don't do that. Please don't take animals out of the wild. There's so many animals that already need homes as pets and stuff like that, and there's just so many reasons not to take animals out of the wild for your safety and for their safety. Just please, please don't. Anyways, what were we talking about? We talked a little bit about green iguanas. There's also tegus, which I know less about. But tegus, yeah, so black and white tegus are also a pet species that people have. They're these big, chonky lizards. They're really cute, but they also get like to be the size of like a small dog, and they require a lot of care. They are also one that tend to get overweight. They're really cute. God, there's a really good YouTube video of a tegu chasing an egg that I'm going to show you. We have a lake at our local park that has a bunch of turtles, and I think people just release their pet turtles there often, and thinking about it now, I wonder if that's good. Yeah. Okay. Tegu. Tegu? Don't look at my search history. Tegu lizard. Egg. Nope, wrong thing. Oh, also no. Don't look at my calendar either. It's mine. I don't even think there's anything on my calendar. Toy egg. This one. Yeah. I hope you can hear it. Because the sound's half of it. God, look at it go. I just love this first part when he runs. I mean, it's okay. It's just oh, hold on. I may have muted the desktop setting. I did. Okay, we'll play it again. It's really good though. Just him running like a cartoon character. Plus, like, where is it? Look at his little face. He run for the egg. Pardon. Pardon me. The council is taking over the Discord. Oh, are you? That's good. Have fun with it. God, it's recommending me Hamilton things. It's fine. It's fine. It's good. Revolution is inevitable. Are you on my Discord? Is that what's happening? I, like, haven't put it in the girl streamer server yet because I was like, I need to do some stuff. But if you're already in there, then you're in there. Let's see. Yeah. Again, with the pet trade. And they eat a variety of plants and small animals. They're especially known for eating the buried eggs of reptiles and alligator eggs. It has the potential to impact populations of threatened and native species such as crocodiles. So this is more one I have invaded. This is more one where the problem is it's eating eggs of other species. And again, we talked about earlier, if you were here, we talked about how some animals, particularly stuff like turtles and whatnot, and I don't know about sea turtles specifically or crocodiles, but with some reptiles and some turtles, like I know with some we have here, it can take like 10, 15, 20, 30 years for them to reach sexual maturity and even begin to be laying eggs. And so it's very important that like the more eggs that are protected and get to hatch, and the less babies that are eaten, the more chance they have of surviving and rebuilding populations. So if the eggs are getting eaten, like, they're screwed. Basically. I have invaded. Alright. And then we have the red-eared slider, which is one I have personal experience with. Red-eared sliders are this, like, they get pretty big. They get to be, like, maybe the size of a dinner plate. They're a kind of turtle. They're, like, if we want to get technical again, they're a terrapin because they're semi-aquatic and they're semi-terrestrial. But they're kind of species we have here, and the reason we have them here is because people let them go as pets. I had 2 of those, they died. Oh! I was so sorry to hear that. They do, turtles live a long time, and that's one of the reasons I don't know that I ever want one as a pet. Low-key, I want a box turtle, but, like, we'll see, because they live a long time. Oh, I would love a corn snake and a box turtle, maybe. Although, I also want a cat in the future, and cats and turtles don't mix, so we'll see. They got sick. That sucks. That's I feel like one thing that happens in general, but particularly with reptiles. Hold on. Hold that thought. Gotta go. Thanks for the education. I'm really happy I can learn something every time I'm here. Bye. Thank you for coming. Bubbles and Blossom. R.I.P. That sucks. I will say, I think it is fairly common, particularly with reptiles and stuff like that, where like people don't actually get like told what the proper care is for them. Like this is especially a problem with like pet stores and stuff. Like they'll be like, "Oh, they don't need like they only need like this much room and you don't even need to feed them that often, like blah blah blah." And like oftentimes it's not correct. This is a thing that happens. One example I know about is leopard geckos and saying that they can live on sand. They cannot live in sand. If they live on sand, they will eat a bunch of sand. It can cause serious digestive issues for them and kill them. So, don't put leopard geckos on sand. But that's a pretty common thing, and it happens with like fish and stuff too, where it's like people get told like, "Oh, you can totally do this and it's fine," and because we believe the people at the pet store, because what reason do we have to doubt? We would think that they would be the experts, but they're not because they're really just trying to make money. I named 3 of my color guard rifles after the Barter girls. God. Alright, we were talking about red-eared sliders. So red-eared sliders are also a species that can hibernate, I believe. So they are found here. And because they're big and they can be kind of aggressive towards other turtles, they tend to outcompete our native turtles, which is a problem. Knowing that you named them in itself gives me so much joy. God. Okay, I need to sip. I need to have a sip. I am thirsty. Ugh. Okay. We name our weapons, not too much our flags, though. That's fair. Oh, that's another sippy. Let's look at the Wikipedia. We're only on reptiles, by the way. We still got birds and mammals to go. Yep, they've become established in other places because of pet releases and become an invasive species, included in the list of the world's 100 most invasive species. Maybe we'll look at that later. Not right now, but later. Another one. As pets, invasive species, and reptiles are asymptomatic carriers of bacteria of the genus Salmonella. Oh, that's another thing that we like often tell people is like especially another like good reason to just like leave animals alone. I'll cry if we talk about birds. Is because they can carry a bacteria, and like it's saying, like salmonella is one thing. So if you ever touch a turtle in the wild because you're helping it across a road, because that's really the only time you should be touching turtles, you need to go wash your hands after and like don't touch your mouth. Because the reason I think reptiles are asymptomatic is because in the wild, animals that are, you know, like weaker animals and sick animals and stuff, if you showed weakness, you die. Oh my god. A line of asking red-eared sliders facing an inquisitive mallard on bed. We are going to talk about mallards later, by the way. That's really funny. God, this looks like some kind of parable. Or fable? I can't remember what they're called. What are you doing? This is a really good picture. I'm putting this in Discord. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta put the description. This is important. This is important. Please. Here it is. Sorry, I have to share this with the world. There you are. Okay. I'm back. There we go. OBS, so I can see. That's the Sam's boy. That's true. I'm the inquisitive mallard. It has led to restriction of sales of red-eared sliders in the U.S. Banned the sale at some point. For both turtles and turtle eggs and turtles smaller than 4 inches. I wonder if it's because they believe they're taken out of the wild? Unsure. Breeding populations have been found in New Southern Wales and Queensland, and individual turtles have been found in the wild in Victoria, Australia, also Australia. Oh wait, it's all Australia. They're considered a significant threat to native species because they mature more quickly, grow larger, produce more offspring, and are often more aggressive. They're just better competitors. They outcompete native turtles for food and nesting sites and basking sites. They eat plants as well as animals. They can also negatively impact other species. So like we talked about before with the food web thing, is like they come in, and if they're causing a decrease in certain species, it means increases in other species, and so on and so forth. Bad times. Within the second volume of Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the popular comic book heroes were revealed as specimens of the red-eared slider. Oh my god. Sorry I'm so late. No problem. I just learned that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are red-eared sliders, and I honestly don't know what to do with that information except for tweet it after the stream. I'm gonna make a note to myself. I'm gonna write down TMNT red-eared slider. TMNT res. Yes. I'm gonna tweet that later. Y'all better not be tweeting this. Thank you. Actually, I want to know, where's this? Tell me this. But no. No, I just need to know. I need to know. What? What did it? What? Oh, I was looking at the wrong thing completely. I'll put that later. I'm a terrapins. God, that's a sentence. I just want to know that that's the case. Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Twitter. There is definitely some commands I wanted to add. Somebody did like exclamation point lurk lately, and I don't have that one either. So I gotta make a note. I don't know. I think it might be in my panels, or it might not be in my panels. I don't know. Who knows? Okay. So we talked about tegus. This is a ball python. We're not gonna talk about this right now. There's no commands thing. Nightbot just got timed out. Wait. Something just got... No. Stream elements got timed out by Nightbot just now. The bots are fighting! What would lurk do? I didn't mean to change those. I don't actually know, but I have seen people do it. I guess it just means like they're going to lurk. Only I have the power of links. I don't know, but definitely it would probably be good to be like... I have the Discord one, but adding like the Twitter one and maybe like other ones. Bot fight! I think Nightbot wins, unfortunately. Sorry, stream elements. Anyway, I will... I have so many things I want to do with this stream, but then I just don't do any of them. Like emotes? Need to do my emotes. I have one. We've done one. We need to do the rest of them, but we will get there. I promise. And they have to get approved, of course. Okay, so we talked about some of those. We'll talk about... No, we're not going to talk about the run. Well, okay. Really quickly, maybe. This is another one I saw was... I don't have a donate link because... It's angry. Oh, it just timed out Streamlabs! You're gonna get some great animal emotes. I'll probably do emotes of me, because I'm cute. I could get some animal emotes. Who knows? We'll see. I don't currently have a donate thing set up because, like... I don't know. I don't necessarily know that I want donations, and I have mixed feelings about PayPal and just the issues some people seem to have had with it, so I haven't done that one yet. But if it's something people really, really want, I will look into it. If you don't want to go through Twitch, which is understandable. But as it stands currently. Okay, so this is one that I don't really know anything about, but... Good job, Saida. I don't know anything about the brown tree snake. It's led many native bird species to extinction. That's too bad. Tell me about it. I guess I could VIP or mod Stream Elements or something. I'll do something. Yeah, I don't think Streamlab or Stream Elements is a mod, so I guess I need to make it a mod. Look at this man. No, I don't like any of that. Why his eyes are like that, huh? It was accidentally introduced to Guam in the late 40s or 50s. It's about 15 inches in length at hatching. They can reach 10 feet long, but they're usually 3 to 4 feet long. I could probably do that too, for the record. That's true. You are editor? They're rear-fanged and considered mildly venomous. If you don't know what it means, it's kind of what it sounds like in that, like, if this is their mouth, their fangs are, like, back here. It uses both constriction and venom to help immobilize its prey. That's dramatic. Why not just choose one? They're not very dangerous. They have to chew to allow its fangs to penetrate skin. That's rough, buddy. It's not present a danger. Okay, but what's the problem? They cause extensive damage. It's just to Guam. The brown tree snake has caused extensive damage to Guam. I'm gonna go into lurk mode myself, but enjoy the rest of the stream and welcome. Thank you, welcome chat. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I hope you learned some things. Hope you had a good time. As native bird populations have declined, the snake now feeds on introduced lizards and birds, rodents, and bird eggs. They're kept in check through natural processes in the native range and predation, but it doesn't work as well on Guam because they probably don't have the same pressure on them. The snakes do not hang from trees in giant bunches, nor do they search out people to bite. I feel like those are probably common things people think they do. They may be attracted to residential areas by abundant rodents and stuff like that. They occasionally enter buildings while searching for food. Preventing the spread. Sightings. Tell us when you see a brown snake. I just wanted to know about that one particularly. Whatever. Okay, so now we've gotten through reptiles. Now we're on to birds. Caca. So there's a couple we're gonna talk about. Let's start with the European starling. Starlings are very cute. I believe starlings are the ones that like congregate in giant groups and they fly around in like a big ball in the sky. They're very cool to watch. They're one of the most successful invasive species. Are these the ones that were brought over by someone? I don't know. They're everywhere. They're cute, but yeah. It's a noisy bird. Large flocks typical of the species can be beneficial by controlling invertebrate pests. However, they can be pests themselves by feeding on fruit and sprouting crops, plus the noise and mess they make. They've been subjected to a range of controls, including culling, so just like killing them. Ugh. But it's had limited success. There's a lot of them. Okay. What I want here is this. Yes. It's been introduced and successfully established itself in New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, North America, Fiji, and several Caribbean islands. It has also been able to migrate to other places because of this. 5 individuals conveyed on a ship from England alighted near. I don't know what the sentence is saying. They vanished. Due to initial eradication, they've been breeding. It was introduced in Australia to consume insect pests, which they were excited about, and they liked them for a bit, and then at a certain point they realized they were maybe not so good. Sorry, I'm crying about birds. It's okay. It's okay. In North America, 60 common starlings were released to try to introduce every bird species mentioned. Yep, that's the thing. This man, wait. They tried to release or introduce every bird species mentioned in the works of William Shakespeare into North America, maybe. Maybe. I don't even know what to say about that. Yeah, like, literally, what? Are you kidding? That's ridiculous. This is, again, the thing of, like, people don't, like, think about consequences at all sometimes. I mean, in fairness, like, we have learned more and more about biology over time, and this was 1890, so it will we maybe just didn't have the same understanding, or he certainly did not have the same understanding of, like, when will you learn that your consequences? That's an extremely not good reason to introduce species to places. I agree. I yeah, that's I I don't even know what to say to that. Like, what? I like too how it's like, oh, it's, they were introduced by, like, in other places it's like they were introduced by accident, like, oh, they were introduced because they, were wanted them to control pests, which is like kind of makes sense, although it may be misguided because again they became a problem. But literally North America, it's like, well, this man was like, well, William Shakespeare talked about them, so this is like the 1800s version of ridiculous YouTube TikTok challenges gone wrong. No matter how much you like my boy Will, that's not a great thing. This guy was just stupid obsessed with Will. Apparently, I guess so. Oh god, that's a whole thing and a half. Okay. Okay, I'm not gonna keep looking at this because I feel like that takes the cake for the common starling. God in heaven, this man. Okay, we're gonna look at a couple other species. I am gonna try to finish maybe by one. I don't want to go too far past one, but I guess we'll see. Because I have mammals to talk about too. Mallards. I don't know if these are actually considered an invasive species exactly. So mallards, if you don't know, are like, at least here, when people like say ducks, this is usually what they're talking about is mallards. I don't think they are native, are they? They're the most they're thought to be the most abundant and wide-ranging duck on Earth. I also think when people have ducks as pets and stuff like that, they're usually mallards. Mallards are very cool. They're the ones where the boys have the fancy head. They're native here. That's cool. That's good. That's good. I don't know if they're actually native here or not. Are mallards and ducks that quack? Are they? They don't quack. All right. Fine. I just want to know about mallards, please. They're everywhere, yes, but do they belong everywhere? Canadian goose got imported though. Yeah, that's also on my list, is Canadian geese. Because, like, how could I not talk about Canadian geese when I'm Canadian? Does it just have a huge range? I don't actually know. I just put it down because it said they might be considered. I mean, I think what it might be is kind of like other species invasiveness. Oh, here we go. Are causing genetic pollution because they're breeding with endemic, so native ducks. The hybrids of mallards and yellow-billed ducks are fertile, so they can produce hybrid offspring. If this continues, only hybrids occur. In the long term is the extinction of various indigenous waterfowl. So the problem here is actually a little bit different than the other ones, because the problem is not necessarily that they're directly outcompeting these other the yellow-billed ducks here. In this case, it's they're breeding with the yellow-billed ducks, and at some point the mallards plus the hybrids may outcompete the yellow-billed duck to the point that there isn't any. The mallard duck can crossbreed with 63 other species, so it's more posing a severe threat to indigenous waterfowl's genetic integrity. God, that I'm not gonna lie to you, genetic integrity sounds like something that someone would use in, like, as a discriminatory thing, like, you know, pure blood in Harry Potter. Although I will say, in the wild, this is one reason where even if you, like, say, for example, here somebody got a garter snake as a pet, but you don't know where the garter snake came from, and you release that garter snake into the wild. Here, you have no idea what kind of genetics you are now putting out into the world. That's one reason. There's other reasons too, but that's like, we should not be messing with the genetics of the, you know, the gene pool of the ecosystem. They make a lot of messes. They do. Also, they're kind of rude. I have another big, you know, aquatic bird on my list also, which we'll get to. Mallards and their hybrids compete with indigenous birds. So they're also you like have that. They're also had as pets, but it's currently legal, not in Florida though, to prevent hybridization with the native molted duck. So again, this is a situation where they're trying to preserve this species. Meses. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay, we gotta move. Alright, what's next? Next I did actually have the Canadian goose, and then we'll move to something even bigger. And then we have something else on there after. I literally just put in moose and not goose, huh? My brain really did that. The apple doesn't fall from the tree. That's a fair point. I guess they are called... I don't like that they're called Canada goose. I think it should be Canadian goose, but, you know. So I'm going to call it Canadian goose. Or Canadian geese. Because Canada goose just sounds grammatically wrong. And I'm not a fan of it. They're native to here. And migrations occasionally reach Northern Europe. It's been introduced into the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, Argentina, Chile, and the Falkland Islands. It's primarily herbivorous and migratory. Extremely skilled at living in human-altered areas. They've established breeding colonies in urban and cultivated habitats. The success of this has led it to being a pest species because of its poop, its depredation of crops, its noise, its aggressive behavior, and the habit of begging for food. Ooh, did I guide the education? Yes, good job. Now we are talking about the gooses. So this is an interesting one, and this is something I also have talked about before, but I'm going to talk about again, because there is... Well, this kind of goes for the mallards and at least one of the other species I will talk about, where it's like, there's this thing that happens that when a species can do well in human-altered areas, like it's saying, it becomes a thing that we often see as a pest. Which means, I'm talking about things like geese in one case, like stuff like raccoons, like pigeons and stuff like that. Things that do well, even in places where human are pretty much always... Seagulls is another one, are always seen as like a pest and they're annoying. And again, it's like, because they poop or they're loud or they like want food from us. It's just, it's an interesting thing because it's like the species that are actually doing okay despite us, you know, ruining everything, we see them as bad. Even though they have been successful despite our, you know, best efforts to indirectly eradicate all the other species. It's just interesting. I wonder, how did they get over there? Were they introduced? Where did they go? They have reached Northern Europe naturally, which is okay. But they were introduced, okay, in New Zealand they were introduced as a game bird, which, so in this case it was like, it's sort of like the food thing of like, oh, this will be like a fun thing. It will help us. Oh my god, look at this. That's kind of scary, I'm not gonna lie. That's too many geese. I have a healthy respect for geese. Also brought to Finland as a game animal. I mean, this is absolutely the problem at the moment is purely cosmetic. This I don't even care about this. They march as one. Like, this was kind of the same thing we were talking about with the iguana one, which is like, honestly, when it's like, oh, they just like as much as I am also like vaguely annoyed when there's geese poop everywhere, it's also like we this isn't just our world to live in. This is also their world to live in. And so to be like, oh, like they just poop on things and it's annoying, so we need to get rid of them, like that's a little extra, and I don't support that. Geese are mean. They just don't want you anywhere near their babies or them. So can't really blame them. Oh no, wild animals doing normal things. Exactly. That's what I mean. It's just like this real weird thing. Or like, even, people get mad when like seagulls steal their food. It's like they're literally doing their best to survive in an environment we have made specifically, tailored to us and not tailored to any other animal. So I am also mean when people threaten my beeps. That's true. Don't mess with the mama bear. I mean, fair. It's just like kind of like what Helen is saying. It's like when people get like upset about animals being animals, like I feel no sympathy for you. It's like people who get upset when something bites them when they are trying to pet it. I mean, like wild stuff. Like, if you see a raccoon and you go to pet it and it bites you, or if you see any wild animal and you pick it up and it bites you, guess whose fault that is? It's not the animal. They're just being animals, you know? So, bleh. Bleh. That's how I feel. During their second year of life, geese find a mate. They're monogamous, and they stay together their whole lives. If one dies, the other may find a new mate. Aww. Ah, babies! I met a horse that came right up to the edge of the field. I love that. Horses are huge. I love horses. Baby geese are adorable. They absolutely are. From far away, yes. Oh my god. Oh my god. When the Wild's gonna start talking about horses? I think I could be wrong, but I think like feral horses. I was looking at a list earlier because I wanted to pick out more species to talk about. I didn't know what to do though. I wanted to pet because I thought maybe it belonged to someone. Horses were way smaller. Earlier she told me she was obsessed with horses when she was a wee lass. I was. I have maybe I had horse books at some point in my life. I don't know if I still have them. I may have gotten rid of them at this point. I used to have a whole bunch of horse books. Oh, I do still have a whole bunch of horse books down there on like there's one shelf and it's like mostly horse books. I'm not gonna lie. Those birds are cute. There's no way they're all gone. I mean I still love horses, but can we please stop calling wild horses invasive? I'm just wondering. I don't know. Cheatgrass. Impacts of invasive species. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there was the same kind of thing that happened where it's like they were like not pets, but they were like kept animals. That's not the right word. I can't think of it, but she's probably subscribed to Horses Weekly. Don't even at me. I'll get out my horse tips. I have a drawing one and I have various ones about training horses and stuff. And potentially destructive non-native species, yeah. In the 1500s, Spanish explorers introduced domestic horses and burros to North America. Over time, some escaped or were released, creating a population of feral animals. Free-roaming herds, damaged landscapes, herdpacking and soaring overgrazing. So there you go. What's the difference between wild and feral? Wild animals' ancestors have never been domesticated, whereas feral animals' ancestors were once domesticated but are now free-ranging in the absence of human care. That's interesting. I didn't actually know that. We're learning things. There are, in fact, feral horses. Okay, we talked a little bit about Canadian geese. What's next? Okay, there's two more not goosies. Mute swan is another one. They're very pretty, very scary. Swans definitely scare me. So swans are another big, waterfowl. It's an introduced species in North America. Mute swan. I think they're called mute swans because they don't really talk. That's not the word. Yeah, the name mute derives it from being less vocal. I don't know that they don't make any sound, but the word feral sounds more sinister to me than wild. It does. It does. Absolutely. It sounds. I feel like the word feral sounds more like, domesticated animal gone crazy. That's what it sounds like to me. It makes me think of Colin Farrell. All right, but it is just a word that means, I guess, like what it said, like an animal that it or its ancestors were domesticated. Now it's not. Like, yeah, I agree. Like, feral cat sounds so bad and so scary, but like it actually just means like a cat that doesn't have a home, basically. I just want to know when they were introduced, frankly. Tell me why. Tell me why. But why? Why was it introduced? Tell me why. Maybe they just think it's cool. Oh, look, I got my own abbreviation. You're very special in that case. You get an official mom abbreviation. The fairy tale, The Ugly Duckling by Hans Christian Andersen. The man himself. Romeo and Juliet, except they're both females. I love that. Lesbian swans. Getting an abbreviation was the happiest moment of my life. Precious. Okay. It's not saying why, so it's fine. Plus, we're running out of time. Maybe. We're going to talk about the rock pigeon. Or rock dove, which is also called the common pigeon. It's just like pigeons. When we're talking about pigeons, we're talking about these ones. Wait. Larger and plumper. Oh my god. Tubby birds! No rush, we can talk about animals all the time. Well, at some point, I do need to go, like, eat the food or something. Long stream. I have on my schedule, like, 10 to 12:30, and I'm like, I feel like I should just get rid of the 12:30 at this point, because I never know when I'm going to end. It's just when I run out of things to talk about, frankly. But I've been too lazy to change it, so. Invasive species. But I will probably change it at some point. 10 a.m. to, who knows, time is an illusion. Anyways. Feral pigeon! Not gonna lie, I made dinner while watching it. I'm currently eating. That's impressive, frankly. It's afternoon for me now. It was morning. God, feral pigeon does sound terrifying. Did you make enough to share? What'd you make for dinner? Okay. So they were introduced as a domesticated bird, but many escaped and formed feral population. Well, yes, but also no. That's fair. Dropping deface and accelerate deterioration of buildings and increase cost of maintenance, also spread disease around grain handling facilities. Pigeons consume and contaminate quantities of food destined for human or livestock consumption. Plus aircraft collisions, and are considered a medium priority hazard to jet aircraft. See, this is again, it's like most of this is like droppings deface buildings, like, I don't know what to tell you, frankly. I'm gonna eat the rest tomorrow. Ooh, that's a good idea. I made chili con carne bowl. Ooh, just done all my laundry. I'm glad. Look, we're learning things. We're being productive. I'll alternate between with or without meat. Ooh. I don't know what I'm gonna have for lunch yet. I usually have I have these cauliflower wraps And I usually put smashed avocado and tomato and an egg on it. It's delicious. So I might do that. At some point, we also had fresh rolls, which were like, rice rolls with like a bunch of veggies in them. I don't know if we have any more of those, but I would also have that. Anyways, but again, like, and they poop and they eat food destined for humans. I don't know. Like, they just be living their lives. I think pigeons are really cute, honestly, and I love the way they walk and they wobble their heads. What's for lunch? I don't know what else is in this house. Probably something, but we have a lot of avocado, so I'm probably gonna eat an avocado also. Oh, I see. That wasn't for me. There. Yeah, what's for lunch, Saida? What you gonna get me? Ah, look at the puff. The puffy puff. Okay. Anyways. So that's all my birds. Avocado is great. I love. It was for you too. I don't know. I told my friend to surprise me. Fancy. Okay. Now we're into the final stretch. We're into mammals. We're gonna talk about mammals. So, you guys are gonna like these ones. Are you ready? We're gonna start strong with the swamp rat. There he is. There he is. Mammals like camels. Also known as the they're swamp rat. I think they have another name too, but people call them swamp rat. What's the other name? Nutria. Or koi poo. But they're also called swamp rats. Sorry? What is this? Catching delicious swamp rats? I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know about that. Swamp rat! I mean, they are invasive, but still. Invasive swamp rats. God, look at those teeth. They are related to beavers. Okay. Koi poo, or nutria. Large, herbivorous, semi-aquatic rodent. Family of spiny rats. So they do look a lot like beavers. It's still hunted and trapped for its fur in some regions. Its destructive burrowing and feeding often bring it into conflict with humans. Guys, I'm gonna go design a video game purely about your feud with, the human conflict with swamp rats. Commercial environmental issues. Local extinction in their native range due to overharvesting led to the development of fur farms. They've generally not been successful long-term investments, and farmed koi poo often are released or escape. God. And they were introduced into Louisiana in the 30s, where they escaped from fur farms and imported them. They do look like beavers, I agree. Some of them escaped during a hurricane. Oh my god. Releases followed by one nutria farmer and then another one who released his entire stock. God. Following a decline in demand for fur, they've become pests in many areas, destroying vegetation, marshes, irrigation systems, and chewing through man-made items such as tires and wooden house paneling, eroding riverbanks, and displacing native animals. The first bounties were placed on nutria in 1958 rather. And then people were paying bounties for them. God. Many escaped and damaged drainage works. Like, this could be a great story just of the swamp rats that escaped. God. Marsh Dog received a grant from a place to establish a company that uses nutria meat for dog food products. Farmed food. Sold in markets as poor man's meat. The meat is used successfully in a Moscow restaurant as part of the growing localvore movement. I don't know how I feel about that term, but local food is good. The swamp rats that escaped. It's good to buy local food. Don't love the term localvore. As a foodie craze. It can be lots of things. Somewhere between turkey and pork. They're hosts for a nematode parasite that can infect the skin of humans. That's nice. Sounds like a horror movie. It does. It does sound like a horror movie. Severely reduce overall wetland biomass and can lead to conversion of wetlands to open water. How? How do I do that? Is it because they're eating? They dig up root networks and rhizomes for food. Feral hogs. That's another thing we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about feral hogs. Oh my god, swamp rabbits. I'll bring that up. We're gonna talk about feral hogs. I want one of those B-rated horror movies made so I can laugh at the ridiculous. They are like beavers. They are. 40% less vegetation was found in plots guarded against nutria than in. Sorry. Herbivory alone is not a serious cause of land loss, but herbivory combined with additional disturbances like fire, vegetation removal, or more vegetation removal to simulate a tropical storm, the effects of the disturbance is greatly amplified. So less vegetation. So they're mainly a problem for vegetation to the point where they can completely change the type of, like, I can't think of the word. Like, they can change wetlands into open water. That's wild. That's like changing the whole thing. Long stream time for feral hogs. Yes, yes. Okay. Yes, I think we've sort of covered it. Wild boar. Also known as the wild swine, common wild pig or something. Oh wait. Yes, I want feral pig specifically. It's a beast. It's a wild beast. It's a pig living in the wild which is descended from escaped domesticated swine, razorback, and wild hog. Oh my god. Our American colloquial. Those sound like members of like a motorcycle gang. Razorback and wild hog. You know? Spicy. It's, yeah. Natural habitats of wild boar are woodlands. However, feral populations root and forage in areas where they conflict with human activities. They can be farmed under a license. You can't release them. They're often active during the daytime and are less wary of people. Ready for a whole hog. They were first introduced in the 16th century by Christopher Columbus as a food source. And they've become a growing problem, including here. They cause a lot of damage. They forage because pigs forage by rooting for their food underground with their snouts and tusks. A sounder of feral pigs can damage acres of planted fields in just a few nights. Because of the feral pig's omnivorous nature, it's danger to both plants and animals. Other game animals are especially affected. They're determined to be a potential host for at least 34 pathogens. Swine. This is just like the epitome, I think, of like invasive species is wild, or not wild, but feral pigs, because it's like, A, they probably don't have a lot of natural predators. B, they're omnivorous, and they can outcompete other animals, and they are having an impact both in terms of competition on similar like herbivorous animals, as well as like they eat other, like they will eat other small animals, by the way. They'll eat mice and stuff. It's scary. And they like can damage, I mean, I was talking about like agricultural land, but they can also damage, you know, forest ecosystems and stuff because they tear up the ground looking for their food. And they have like they can carry disease and stuff. It's just like a whole thing. Mostly herbivorous. Yeah, so their feeding behavior disrupts the entire food chain. Yeah. They also eat wild turkey poults, toads, tortoises, and the eggs. Yeah. Alright, I gotta go. Cheers to the stream. It's been fun and educational. No problem. I'm gonna probably try to end it soon. My throat is starting to hurt. But we are almost done. All the things I want to talk about. I may end on this one. You can look at the other one I had really quickly, but I don't think it's gonna be better than swamp rat or feral pig, frankly. Some other wildlife are outcompeted by the feral pig's higher reproductive rate. They can become pregnant as early as 6 months and give birth to multiple litters of piglets yearly. Holy crap. The problems caused by feral pigs in the US are exacerbated by the small number of species which prey on them. Yeah, so bobcats, coyotes may be able to, but they're not really big enough. Florida panthers can. Gray wolves. red wolves, cougar, jaguar, alligators, that kind of stuff. Um, yeah, but like this is again a situation where it's like, just catch you in the discords. Okay, awesome, thank you. Another thing where it's like another problem we made is we really push back the apex predators because obviously apex predators tend to be problematic for humans too because they're not really scared of us. So we've pushed away all the apex predators. So now they're coming into places where maybe the apex predators would normally control them, but there's no apex predators to control them. Taking to trapping and killing as many individuals as they can. The meat is suitable for human consumption. Whoops, I clicked something. Oh god. Yeah, they're a threat. Some would say they're vermin. They're unprotected wild animals. So just go nuts. You can shoot them from a helicopter? God. Recreational hunter. Hunts with dogs are permitted and very common. No, single management alone is totally effective. Yeah. Oh, pit bull terrier. Okay. Fatal attacks! I've been known to attack without provocation and fatally injure human beings. That's good. It's a good time. Alright. I feel like this is a good place to end. I will say, I don't know, I'm gonna look at this really quickly because no, it's not gonna say the thing I want it to say. Hold on. Let's see really quickly. Nope. Okay. World's most invasive species. I wanted to end on a this note. Nope, that's not. There you go. Nope, that's also not it. That's not the answer I'm looking for. I've definitely seen okay, this doesn't say what it is, then I will. What the most invasive species is. It's not telling me what it is. Nope. Okay, I'll tell you. The most invasive species in the entire world is humans! Because guess what? We invade all sorts of ecosystems we did not begin in. We wreck everything. We push out all other species. We have no predators. It's us. We are the species that is doing the best, and as a result, all other species are doing worse. So, kind of puts it into perspective that all of these other species that are problems are usually because of us. I realize that's not the nicest note to end it on, but that's okay. We're not here to be nice. I'm not nice. We won, but like at what cost? We won, but we're aware enough to know that it wasn't really winning. Because you have to have balance or everything goes wrong. Something is happening. My OBS has gone like full screen and I don't know how to like full screen it. I did it. It's fine, guys. Human. Or like, hi, I'm Wads. The most dangerous game. Also Sippy. Okay, I'll switch it back really quickly too, so you can see my face, but bigger. And see how my nice blue hair, that's actually blue and no longer green now. So that is going to be the end of the stream. A little bit longer today than I usually do. But thank you everybody who came to watch. I appreciate it. Thank you for all the bits and the follows, and thank you for joining the Discord and all that sort of stuff. I will be back next Monday, and it's going to be a special stream because it is going to be a Mindset Monday with a guest, but that guest is going to be my mom. And she will be here for a couple hours, and we'll be talking about a topic. We were talking about relationships. Haven't totally decided yet, but I think that's what we're going to be talking about. So if you're interested in learning more and talking to my mom, then you can tune in next Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And, you can hit the follow button if you haven't already. The Discord is below and all that sort of stuff. And thank you again for coming. Okay, bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thank you for coming. Have a nice meal. Okay, bye. Bye. Drive safe. Okay, bye.